Call 086 860 2012 or find them on Facebook. Fire Grids Donegal also deliver to your door. So you couldn't beat that.
The bold way to start your day.
Highland Radio.
It's that time when we hand you over to the one and only Mr. Gregory Bakery Hughes. I'm impressed
Sound
with
like
your
a country singer there.
Yeah, give it up there.
The one and only.
On a Friday night, I turned on the oven 180 degrees.
Woo.
I put my... Go on ahead.
Did you make that up?
No,
just there.
Yeah, it was good.
You are so
I
talented.
am so talented.
I mean, there's cutting edge broadcasting, if the truth be told.
Yeah, I know. But
Is it too late to submit an application for the Emerald
It's too
Awards?
late, she says. It's too late. It's too late.
All right.
The bacon on Friday night, I have to say.
The what?
Your cookies.
Oh, my cookies.
Ah, come on.
Legendary.
Yeah.
I also roasted a chicken.
On Friday night.
Yep, and made jacket potatoes in the air fryer. I don't know. I might be
happened to
pregnant.
You might be. God, how longer's hitting you, is it?
I may.
I think I'm going to go down to your house on a Friday night.
Yes, catch me on a Friday night.
Did you have the
I was
tune?
having great fun. I was reading back. Asheen said to me, "Ooh." Well, that she didn't say it like that, but as if to say, what, am I bored or something?
Yeah.
But no, it was lovely.
So this is about 7 or 8 o'clock at night time. You said,
7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Got the chicken out, got the spuds out,
Good man.
got my I got a mixer for Christmas. You see.
What kind of mixer?
See, I'd made bread the previous week, but I hadn't the right flour, so it's a big thing out of the middle as a little, I think.
Right.
But
Good.
you can do everything with it, like.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
So I did that, roasted chicken, made some spuds.
How'd you roast the chicken in the
stuck
oven?
it in the air fryer.
Oh, the air fryer, right. How did it
45
turn?
minutes breast down. Well,
Yeah.
You'll never get a nicer chicken than out of air fryer. 45 minutes breast down, 50 minutes breasts up,
Yeah.
and you
It doesn't
will get...
sit well with me,
Why?
roasting chicken when I have chickens. But anyway, I better go.
I actually was thinking why you didn't call one of your chickens Greg. I was thinking that on the way over Loch Salt this morning. I was thinking, what?
Hold on, Daddy. I'm going to get a rooster.
Well, you know what you're going to call that.
Greg.
The big D-O-double-G Greg.
This is going to be called you. That's it. See, I do plan to get a rooster, right?
Excellent.
And it's going to be called Greg. Feathers and everything.
I'll be cock-a-hoop.
You will. Good luck.
All right, good stuff, Lee. Thank you very much indeed. The summer's back, by the way, Lee.
I know.
The summer is back.
I know.
Enjoy it.
I'm going to book off this
Thanks
week.
to the government for switching off the chemtrails for 1 week. Give us a break. All right, a minute past 9. It's not quite. Let's get a news update, and it's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The level of cross-border cooperation between Donegal, Derry and Tyrone will be marked today when Taoiseach Simon Harris makes his first official visit to Derry. He'll deliver a lecture at Magee and will also visit the Guildhall, where he'll make a significant announcement under the Shared Island Fund. With more, here's Shane Beattie.
While in Derry today, the Taoiseach will deliver the John Hume and Thomas P. O'Neill Chair in Peace Lecture at Ulster University. Speaking ahead of the visit, Mr Harris said he's looking forward to his first official visit to Derry to see and support the very positive North-South cooperation in the North West region and to engage with key stakeholders with a view to further strengthening collaboration. He'll be meeting with Mayor Lillian Sinoy Barr in the Guildhall and will be marking the branding collaboration between the Wild Atlantic Way and the Causeway Coastal Route. A significant funding announcement in respect of the collaboration is also expected under the Shared Island Fund.
Meanwhile, it's reported this morning that the city deal for the Derry City and Strabane district will be signed as planned this week. On Friday evening, it emerged the British government was pausing city deals across the UK. However, Northern Secretary Hilary Benn said at the weekend he looks forward to visiting Derry as planned this week for the signing of the deal. There could soon be traffic lights governing the junction of Pierce Road and Old Town Road at the Old Duns roundabout in Letterkenny as works got underway to put lights on 2 roundabouts on the Ramelton Road. Members of Letterkenny Milford Municipal District have been told the junction is included in the priority list of schemes for low-cost safety works. The Letterkenny Integrated Land Use and Transportation Study carried out in 2009 recommended the erection of traffic signals at the junction, and officials say if the money is received, works will carry out. Well, Councillor Donald Coyle says the junction's busier now than it was 15 years ago.
Volume of traffic coming into Letterkenny and going out of Letterkenny has certainly increased over that period of time. This is just a mini roundabout. It's not much bigger, this side than a fried goose egg, to be honest. You have 2 lanes coming in from the main street and from O'Donnell Park. You have 2 lanes coming in the Pierce Road. You have a lane coming from Old Town, and you have the exit coming out of Dunstores. It's far too small, and give relief to both motorists and pedestrians.
Donald Trump has thanked everyone for their concern and well wishes after what's been described as an apparent assassination attempt on the former US president. Secret Service agents spotted a gunman in the bushes as the Republican presidential candidate played golf at his club in Florida. It's reported a suspect has been arrested. And a number of political parties are holding their think-ins in Dublin today. Sinn Féin, Fianna Fáil and the Greens all meeting ahead of the return of the Dáil on Wednesday. Among the items on their agendas, housing, healthcare and the cost of living. And the weather forecast: dry with sunny spells today. A little cloudier in Donegal with the odd spot of drizzle at times in coastal areas. Top temperature 17 to 21 in mostly light southeast to south breezes. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock.
Is it 2 kilometres or 42? Do you think it'll be a personal best? Whether it's your first run or your first marathon, what matters is you are running. Find your pace with Irish Life Dublin Marathon. A better life with Irish Life.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good Monday morning to you. It's 4 minutes past 9. It is Monday. It's the 16th of September 2024 and you're very welcome along to another brand new fresh week of the 9 till Noon Show. Welcome back to Caroline Orr after her well-deserved break, researching and producing the show today. You can contact her and Shannon if you wish on 07491 25000, 07491 25000, or WhatsApps and texts to 08660 25000. If you want to send your voice notes to that number, feel free. And emails, if that's your thing, comments at highlandradio.com. And don't forget, if you're listening to the podcast or our overnight repeat, feel free to get involved in the conversation, raise your issues. Just because your life might not suit listening to us between 9 and 12, it doesn't mean that your views and opinions are any less important. And of course, if you are at home or it suits you, you can watch the show live on your smart TV or your Fire Stick on the YouTube app. It's Highland Radio Ireland. Give us a like and a subscribe. It's very useful. And also, you can watch us on X at Highland Radio and right across our Facebook pages as well. It's great to have you on board, however you choose to join us. So as I say, if there's something that you want us to talk about over the weekend or something that's important to you or an issue you might need some assistance with, please let us get behind you. Contact us on the details I outlined there. Loads to come on the show today, of course, but let's start with a look at the newspapers. In the Derry news, the British government has confirmed the city deal for Derry will go ahead as planned. There are widespread shock on Friday after the government said that it would pause funding for the North's 4 city deals, which include Derry. The signing of the £300 million city deal for Derry is due to take place on Wednesday. Earlier this year, Derry and Strabane District Council unveiled ambitious proposals to revitalise Derry's riverfront and city centre using the city deal money. The Donegal news this morning: Gallagher putting his best foot forward, having been selected at the party convention on Thursday night in the Clanry Hotel in Letterkenny as one of 2 candidates to contest the next general election for Fianna Fáil. Pat the Cope Gallagher is optimistic that he can win back the seat he lost in 2020. He'll run alongside Minister Charlie McConalogue, who was also selected uncontested in the 2-candidate strategy, and will be hoping to keep his seat and his voice for Donegal in the cabinet. Of course, also he'd hope to keep his cabinet seat as well. I presume that's not a fait accompli. We aim to win 2 seats this time, like we did in 2016, and I'll be fighting for the 2nd seat, Pat the Cope Gallagher told the Donegal news there. Let's go to the Irish Independent now, and I'm sure many of you, or certainly those around you, are waiting on a driving test. It's a pain in the bottom because it's very expensive. You have to do all your lessons now, don't you? And they're looking to increase the amount of lessons that you have to do. And then when you have got to that benchmark of the lessons that are required, you stick in your application and you're told that you'll be invited to apply for a lesson in 2 or 3 months' time or 4 months' time, and then you keep checking that and it keeps being pushed back, and it can be very frustrating. But a lot of those spaces, a lot of those timelines could be sped up if people actually turned up for their tests, it would seem. So I'll read on here. Ireland faces a worrying increase in the number of motorists failing to show up for scheduled driving tests amid fears the number of no-shows could soar above 8,000 this year. So that's 8,000 slots that aren't being taken up. A total of 6,441 motorists did not attend scheduled driving tests last year, despite having paid €85 to the Road Safety Authority for the assessment. That involves a monthly average of 537 motorists failing to show up test centres for scheduled appointments. Road safety groups, including Park, expressed alarm at the revelation that the number of no-shows has surged this year to a monthly average of 692. That's a hike of 29%. Park said that while some people might not attend a scheduled driving test for a genuine reason, the fact that others were not showing up was intolerable, given that it's deprived another learner driver of a chance to sit their test. So clearly, obviously, we all know life throws things up where you can't turn up for a test. But that being said, the amount of no-shows is really quite high. In Donegal, it's 102. So the number of no-shows and total fees retained by the RSA. So there was 102 scheduled tests in Donegal, and between January and July, 102 people didn't turn up. The RSA collected €8,670 in the process as well. And we're quite high. Sligo, 52. Mayo, 96. I'm just going to get down the west coast. Galway, with a larger population, of course, 185. Clare, 90. Limerick, 220, which has a city. Kerry, 134. More Century, Offaly 100, Laois 65, Westmeath 113, Kildare 202. But anyway, in Donegal it's 102, which I think if you were to factor in the percentage of population, that is particularly high. It seems particularly high, but it's a kick in the teeth, isn't it, for all of you out there with young ones or not so young ones waiting to get legally on the road, and 102 people had a slot and didn't use it. Very frustrating. The Irish Times this morning tells us that the FBI is investigating an apparent attempt to assassinate Donald Trump, another attempt. The FBI said yesterday it was investigating what appears to be an attempted assassination of former US President Donald Trump and has responded to the scene at West Palm Beach, Florida. In a statement, the FBI said the FBI has responded to West Palm Beach, Florida, and is investigating what appears to be an attempted assassination of former President Trump. He was out playing golf, and some of his security was ahead of him, and they noticed what appeared to be the barrel of a rifle sticking through a fence. I believe they shot fires in that general direction, and the person with the gun, it was an AK-47 rifle with a scope, fled the scene in a SUV. Some clever member of the public took a picture of that, and they were able to track this guy down. But he seemed to have the intent of assassinating President Trump, and also to it's reported that he is a Ukrainian sympathiser, but then again, many people are. On to the Irish Daily Mail now, and retailers are pleading with government to introduce a package of supports for the industry, warning that rising costs, ever-increasing crime and antisocial behaviour is decimating businesses. Now, we're going to talk about this a little later on, we think, but if you are a business, a small, medium business, and it's a difficult one, isn't it, because your business is private. But if you want to perhaps talk about the difficulties of being in business in this day and age, with the increased costs that businesses are facing, not least increases in the minimum wage, and the impact it might have on you, because an awful lot of the businesses that are going insolvent at the moment are small and medium enterprises, and the majority of those are hospitality businesses or food and drink businesses as well. So maybe you're in that sector, and you are hoping for some government support in the next budget, and you want to give us your insight, please get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. Retail Excellence Ireland said the government could use some of the $14 billion it reclaimed from Apple in backdated taxes to fund the supports. REI made this appeal as it announced the membership of a new umbrella organisation called SME Alliance, which has called for a range of measures to be introduced, including changing the calculation of the minimum wage to reflect the fact that nearly half, 48% of the workforce, are employed by the public service or multinationals with far higher salaries. What do you think about this? There is talk, I don't know if it'll come to pass, but there is talk that Oasis could be supported in the Irish legs of their tour by the Wolf Tones. Now, I saw some people on Twitter saying they wouldn't go, which is complete nonsense. Said they wouldn't go if the Wolf Tones were supporting. I'm not sure if it's because they don't like the music. If they don't like the music, go for a drink while they're playing. Or is it a political, would it be a political statement? I don't know ins or outs of it. But what do you, if you have your Oasis tickets, do you feel they become more valuable if the Wolf Tones were to support them or not? The story comes from the Wolf Tones legend Brian Warfield. He said that the band could reunite or would reunite if Oasis asked them to their ongoing opening act at Croke Park, as Liam Gallagher declared, "Let's do it." The Irish folk band are set to retire next month after a stellar 60-year career, but Warfield told us that the Wolf Tones would reunite if got the call to support Oasis next year. He told us, this is the paper, "We would be delighted. I think we will come back for that. I love them and I'd love to be on there with them. It would be great fun." It comes after Liam Gallagher teased that the Irish ballad band could open for them when they play Croke Park next year on August 16th and 17th in Dublin. You may be familiar with, and I'm sure you are, Jay Blades. He is effectively the face, the manager of the very popular BBC show called The Repair Shop, and his career was going into the stratosphere. He was the face of everything new that seemed to be commissioned across BBC and the other channels, but perhaps his wings have been clipped because BBC star Jay Blades, he's wears a cap and glasses if you're trying to imagine who that is. He's facing a second court case for allegedly using his mobile phone while driving. The Repair Shop host, charged last week with controlling and coercive behaviour towards his wife, is due in the dock tomorrow for the phone rap. Furniture restorer Blades, 54, who is set to appear at Cannock Magistrates Court, has pleaded not guilty to the alleged driving offences, which of course aren't a game changer for him, but the charges or allegations of coercive control and coercive behaviour are very problematic for him and his career. And finally, we'll be talking GEA later on with Brendan, of course. A lot of you would have been watching the golf yesterday, and Rory McIlroy kind of did what Rory McIlroy kind of does lately, and he had a win in the palm of his hand, and he's an outstanding player, and his record is amazing, but he just let it slip. A downbeat Rory McIlroy rued another near miss as he threw away the Irish Open to Rasmus Højgaard yesterday. McIlroy looked set for a second Irish Open win. I thought he'd won it 4 times, but anyway, McIlroy looked set for a second Irish Open win when he led by 2 shots with 4 holes to go at Royal County Down, under an hour from where he grew up. But while Højgaard completed a closing 65 with 4 birdies in the last 5 holes, including 3 in a row from the 16th, McIlroy 3-putted the 17th, and that was his downfall, and then missed an eagle putt by a fraction on the 18th. Now, if he had got that eagle putt, would have been remarkable. That would have been one of the holes of his career. He was very close, but the damage was done on the 17th. Okay, that was a run through some of the stories that are making the newspapers today. If you have a say in any of that, you know the contact details, don't you?
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Today's 9 till noon show comes to you in association with Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville. Great offers on sofas, suites, beds and dining tables. All furniture, all this month at Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville.
Hi folks, Paul McDevitt here. I'm invited to join myself and Jimmy Stafford this Monday night for another edition of the Monday Night Sessions. On the show this week, local Buncrana band Revival will be joining us for a few tunes and a chat and tell us all about the upcoming gig they're having in the Plaza in Buncrana on the 24th of September, along with Maria Fitzpatrick and Caroline Cutcliffe. Mahara singer-songwriter Paddy Doherty will also be joining us for a few tunes and a bit of a chat, and we'll also be bringing you the very best of new music from around the Northwest and the rest of the country. So that's the Monday Night Sessions this Monday night between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. as always, right here on Highland Radio.
Atlantic Travel is ready to book your cruise. Book early to secure the best price and best available cabins, including those limited family suites. See and sail the Greek Isles, cultural cities of Italy and the Croatian coastline, or venture further afield to Asia and Japan, or an Alaskan adventure. Spread the cost with payment plans. Atlantic Travel Letterkenny, the cruise experts, having sailed extensively with all major cruise lines.
They say time equals money, so spend your money where you spend your time. No matter what your preference is, Cooney's Home Interiors has something to suit every taste and budget. With our extensive range of home furnishing to fit every room and style, from mattresses and beds to rugs, mirrors and suites of furniture. Visit us in store today and see for yourself what Cooney's have to offer, and let us help you make your dream home a reality. Cooney's Home Interiors, Letterkenny Retail Park. Huge range, great prices.
Anything that collects water can be a drowning danger for young children. Drowning can happen silently and in just a small amount of water. Always empty and safely store away buckets, basins and other things that collect water when you're done with them. Visit mychild.ie for advice on pregnancy, baby and toddler health.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
The time now, 18 minutes past 9. Taoiseach Simon Harris is set to visit Derry for the first time as Taoiseach for a series of engagements with political, civic society and community leaders. During his visit, the Taoiseach will announce the allocation of €7.6 million from the Shared Ireland Fund. This for initiative to link the Wild Atlantic Way that runs, as we know, from Kinsale in County Cork to Donegal's Inishowen Peninsula to the Causeway coastal route which runs from Derry to Belfast. Joan Crawford is manager of the Wild Atlantic Way at Fulcher Ireland and is with us now. Good morning, Joan.
Good morning, Greg.
This is, I presume, positive news to extend the Wild Atlantic Way. Is that how you see it, Joan?
It is indeed. The Taoiseach's here today to mark the positive progression of the Shared Island Wild Atlantic Way Causeway Coastal Route. We have a tourism brand collaboration group that is working on this project. So that's Fulcher Ireland, Tourism Northern Ireland and Tourism Ireland. And it's all about us creating those synergies between the Wild Atlantic Way and the Causeway Coastal Route. We work very closely with our partners in Northern Ireland, but this 7.6 million funding is just giving us an opportunity to create additional opportunities for the tourism trade in the international market.
I'm not being negative or anything but I mean, we're at the end of the Wild Atlantic Way. Is there any concern that we could just be a stop off and it could be any disadvantage to us if the end, in inverted commas, is somewhere else?
Well, we look at the Wild Atlantic Way now and we're 10 years old, Greg, and our biggest opportunity for us within the team is growing that business north of Galway, and we all know how important that access point for Belfast and for Derry and for Donegal Airport are for us, and it can be flipped. We could be seen as being the start of the Wild Atlantic Way as opposed to the end, which is always. That's
actually a really good point. Here's me sitting in Donegal saying we're at the end of the Wild Atlantic Way, but anyway, go ahead, John. You're quite right there.
Yeah. And for us now, the tourism, this 7.6 million, it's looking at doing a small grant scheme for visitor attractions to enhance the visitor experience. So it's looking at those all-weather attractions. Given the summer that we've had this year, it's an ideal opportunity. So there'll be 1.2 million spent between Donegal, small part of Leitrim and Sligo on visitor attractions. We're also looking at marketing opportunities within the GB. And we want to upskill the trade in terms of getting them out into the international market and selling those experiences.
And Joan, at this point, do we know the path of the Wild Atlantic Way, once it exits Donegal?
Once it exits Donegal, we have the 2,500 kilometres that takes us right down into Mizenhead. What we're doing in the northern half is the Causeway Coastal Route. Their route would not be as defined, so they're looking at defining that route, looking at the development of discovery points. So you're creating that synergy between the Wild Atlantic Way and the Causeway Coastal Route. A visitor does not see borders, and it's really important for us that the visitor journey is smooth and they don't see, the difference.
Yeah, and also too, it just helps with planning, because an awful lot of people that are travelling Ireland in that way they tend to go from Donegal into Northern Ireland in any case. So really, this is also meeting a market that's already there and growing that market.
Yeah, and if you look at the development, like we have the Causeway Coast gets 1.2 million visitors. We're working extremely hard in terms of developing those iconic attractions north of Galway that's going to attract those international visitors that are coming into Causeway Coast. So we'll see Fort Dunree coming on board, and hopefully we'll have a new development in Mallinhead in the coming years as well. And the investment that has gone into Slieve League will be enhanced under the shared island funding also.
Yeah, and we're in an advantageous position, aren't we? Because, as you say, we're a decade into the Wild Atlantic Way, and it has proved incredibly successful. I mean, we would love to see more of a share of the footfall, so to speak, north of Galway, as you've been mentioning. But that's the piece of work now, because we can also start drawing visitors that went to the north into the northwest as well.
Yeah, our big concentration on the markets are the French, the German, the GB and the American markets. We know that they're warm to the Wild Atlantic Way, and they're markets that come, stay longer and spend more. So that economic benefit, it's not about a massive numbers. It's about getting people to come, stay longer and spend more.
Mm-hmm. And it's so measurable too, because even when there was some disruption to flights or the threat of flights, like it was measurable how much that would cost us, even though it was in a short period of time, because a lot of those that would have been flying in were high spend tourists.
Yeah, tourism is very open to other economic conditions, and that's something that we always have to be mindful in terms of development in the long term. Okay, brilliant stuff. We look forward to see how the plans unfold. Joan, thank you for your time. Thank you, Greg. Joan Crawford there, manager of Wild Atlantic Way at Fulcha, Ireland. Now, you would have heard just with the jingles at the start of the show that we welcome, I'll come back to that in a second. It is, can I pronounce it? It's Breddens, isn't it? Because I think I might have pronounced that wrong previously. It is Breddens. I'll just double check that because Breedens, exactly. I knew I'd got that wrong, and I've actually been up there shopping, believe it or not. It is Breedens because I made a mistake before. So delighted if you heard the jingles a little earlier on. We welcome Breedens House to Home Bridgend and Moville on to the family. They are sponsoring the show this week. And thanks to Breedens, we have a €200 voucher to give away each day, which is really generous. So if you want to win that €200 voucher today, thanks to our friends at Breedens House and Home Bridgend, we are giving you an anagram, and it's Bleat, B-L-E-A-T, and we're asking you to rearrange the letters to make a word, and we're looking for an item sold at Breedens House and Home. So it's an anagram, B-L-E-A-T. If you move those letters around, what might you be able to purchase from Breedens House to Home Bridgend? Text your answer, name and address to 086 60 25,000 to be in with your chance to win this great prize. A very generous €200 voucher every single day this week. So rearrange these words, or these letters, sorry, B-L-E-A-T, into the name of a bit of furniture that you can buy from Breedens House to Home Bridgend, and one of you will win a €200 voucher. I'll mention that a little later on as well, of course. 086 60 25,000. I was sent a video, and we're just digging through it at the moment, and it seemed to be in the Twin Towns of what also appeared to be a group of individuals, young individuals, assaulting another young individual. I'm not sure if you witnessed that or if you've seen it or if you have anything to say about it. As I say, I don't know when it was. It's like a lot of these things. I have to do a bit of due diligence. I don't know when it was recorded or precisely where and when it was, but it's something I'm unaware of. And I suppose if any of you out there have anything to say about that or know anything about that, particularly in that area, 086 60 25,000. We're joined on the programme by Pauline now. Hi, Pauline.
Hello.
How are you
Greg,
getting on?
Good morning. Good, thank you.
All right. So, tell us what you witnessed. Tell us what you witnessed last week, Pauline.
In Letterkenny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last Wednesday, I was in Letterkenny, and I was driving along the road, that new road that past Dunn's stores along there, and I just witnessed a lady falling, having a bad fall.
Oh, no.
And I was fair lashing the rain. And there was a man with her, an elderly man, so I presumed it was husband and wife. And she was lying, I saw her actually falling, so she was lying on the ground. So I drove all round and I had my wee niece with me.
Mm-hmm.
And we drove round into the car park behind where they were. But just at that, another young fella came to assist them. And he was a young foreign fella, lovely, young-mannered man. So I went to them, and the woman, oh my God, she was in an awful state. Her and the husband both. She was bursting for the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
And she was told that the nearest toilet was over at McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
So she was trying to cross the road there and over the barrier, the short barrier, or the low barrier.
Yep.
And she caught her foot on the barrier and just landed right on her back.
Oh, no.
Her bursting for the toilet, to be told there's no toilets over there. Now, these two were in their mid-80s. And they were actually from down south. They were on a bus tour from down south. So I gave her my coat and got her sorted and got her into my car and took her over to a restaurant way on, a good bit over, way over near the cinema, to use the toilet. And now she did contact me since, because I'd given her my number, and she did contact me the last evening to tell me she was very sore and hurt.
Right.
So she was going to her own doctor on Friday. Friday she rang me. Because I wanted to take her up to A&E, but she felt she was okay. I think she was so embarrassed.
Yeah, and sometimes with those injuries, it can take a while before the full pain and extent of the injuries comes to pass, Pauline.
Yeah, I know that because I work with the elderly.
Right. Okay. Exactly. So you do know.
So I know all about it. But just the poor woman, she was, oh my God. And the husband, and I took them over there and got them in and got them sorted with a cup of tea over in the cafe and that.
Well, fair play to you, Pauline. But this just highlights the importance of public toilets, doesn't it? Because this lady and her partner are up visiting, and they only had to make that journey out of desperation because she was desperate for the toilet. No public toilets in that space.
No.
So she would never have fell if she didn't need the toilet. And it is a very popular, big, well-developed area. Astonishing that I'm still hearing people on this program talking about the fact that there's no public toilets there. It's crazy.
Yeah. And my heart went out to the poor woman. And she didn't even know the town. She didn't even know where McDonald's was. She was only searching for it. Mm-hmm. She hadn't a clue.
Yeah. Well, we're still talking about it. There are plans for public toilets down at Letterkenny Retail Park, but at the end of the day, we need them, don't we?
Well, we do, of course.
Yeah, okay.
For everybody, not just for everybody.
Lots of people need toilets more regularly than other people do. I mean, that's a fact, and it's not always because someone might be, maybe pregnant or they have some other condition, but lots of people need the toilet when they need the toilet.
You need it when you need it.
Yeah. All right, okay. Well, listen, we'll do a checkup, but we'll be told that plans are well advanced and they'll be put in place, and everyone's campaigning for it and all this kind of stuff, and that's grand.
Yeah.
I'm not being negative there, but at the end of the day, let's just have the toilets. Less of the talk, more of the toilets.
Yeah.
All right, fair play to you. By the way,
injury now for a while. This lady's just going to be left with an injury.
Yeah, but do you know what? Thank God you were there and that other young lad was there.
Yeah.
Because it would have been very dehumanizing to be lying in the rain and also desperate for the bathroom.
Yeah.
So she had the right people to call on. All right, Pauline, listen, thanks for helping us highlight that again. I do appreciate it. All right, okay, thanks very much indeed. Yeah, it is a crazy situation that the toilets aren't there. The council have said they're making every effort to expedite the process. Councillor Jimmy Cavan has been amongst those who've been campaigning for it. And now it's been saying, well, let's make them a changing place facility, which is fantastic. We need those as well. But is that going to slow down the provision? Is there no measure we can have in the interim so that we hear about these cases, but lots and lots of stuff like that happens and we don't hear about it? Regarding car insurance, a listener says, my son's insurance came on Friday. His premium is up from €650 to €985. The justification was that insurance costs have gone up. Legislation is in place to stop this. Multinational companies are robbing this country blind. Some reward from your current insurer. I wondered, did he shop around since, and did he have any success in that regard? $650 to $985. You know, you're expecting it to go the other way, aren't you? A caller says, see where supposedly there was another assassination attempt on Donald Trump. That's another attempt to boost his election. I don't subscribe to that, but that doesn't matter what I think, does it? Firstly, the first one, he got shot. Part of his ear was damaged, though it seems very well repaired now. And that was all forgotten about in a week or two. I think that campaign is so intense, and there's so much vitriol, and it's so much one side versus the other, that even getting shot in the head, albeit your ear, doesn't stay on the news cycle for very long. But the FBI and independent agencies to the Trump campaign were responding to that, and I can't imagine them being complicit in that, but that's your view, and that's fine. What a great idea to have the Wolf Tones support the Gallagher brothers, aka Oasis. Another caller says the Polestar lights being broken and the traffic flowing better showed we do not need more lights about town. What we need is a ring road, or at least a second bridge over the Swilly, indeed. And most people, including those who make those decisions, concede that. We had Minister Alan Dillon on the show last week, and we received a letter off the back of that from a listener. And it says, it's not often our right to complain, but this immediate response seemed to come from a place of desperation for the people affected. The representative on your programme really made it abundantly clear there is no clarity, realistic understanding of the status quo or vision for what a defective block scheme should provide for homeowners at all currently. As a defective block homeowner, I find it very disconcerting that a government rep of the housing department comes on the radio with no definitive answers to the questions regarding a 10% increase in cap and 6% on square footage increase, or is any comment to add of any significance. If the full content is not transparent from the initial announcement, then the Department of Housing should not release the headliner until they are willing to be transparent in the detail in the report, to my view. And I'll continue reading in a moment, but I was a little bit taken aback by Minister Alan Dillon, because I kind of got the impression that he wasn't not necessarily familiar with the question that I was asking him, which I found quite surprising considering he was lined up to speak to a station up here and he's from Mayo himself. I could be doing the man a disservice, and if I am, I apologise. But my feeling was that it's not that he didn't have the answer to the question, is that he might not have understood what it precisely was about. I could be wrong. But reading on, in fact, if the roundtable content of a report is discussed, then it is being written up at that time to finalise with revisions as they go. If the 10% increase is already announced to roll out, then you would assume the details are set in stone for the full report to follow that announcement. Let's take the example. If you write a book, market the cover and intro to the story, then you are sure of the factual content you're promoting because it's already written and ready to publish. How is it possible that a representative came on the radio and really offered nothing, in my view, constructive to the conversation, fluff around every subject you raised? It's no wonder the people are so frustrated at the defective blocks debacle, as these officials are so far from reality in terms of what's going on at ground level. How would anyone have confidence in any short, medium and long-term strategy for the country when it is in a state of inertia at top level on this humanitarian crisis itself? Two more paragraphs here. There's so many flaws in the scheme, believes the listener, too many to write in this email, even from a personal perspective. It's really no wonder the homeowners are taking to the streets again. This is a serious crisis and should be dealt with as an emergency situation here in rural Ireland. The announcement is yet again another media promotion to tick a box, in my opinion. It makes so many people in other areas of Ireland believe we're being treated with a great scheme and big ticket compensation to rebuild. Reality is the opposite. This is not my experience or most of the people that are brave enough to speak out on your show. A large cohort of homeowners will not see any financial gain from this 10% increase in overall cap, as the square footage rates currently depict your grant amount. Rant over, Greg, and thanks for all the coverage you give the people on the ground in Donegal. Heidi, thank you very much for your email. I get where you're coming from and I understand it. Thank you. If you agree, disagree, 08660 25,000.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Today's 9 till noon show comes to you in association with Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville. Great offers on sofas, suites, beds and dining tables. All furniture, all this month at Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville.
There's bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Burnfoot. Doors open 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €2,450 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
From the hard-working New Transit Custom to the new rugged Ford Ranger and the dependable all-new Transit Connect to the reimagined all-new Courier and our new all-electric e-Transit range. Our award-winning Ford Pro commercial vehicle range has now been fully buffed and upgraded. Come and take Ireland's best-selling Ford Pro range for a test drive today. Productivity never looks so good. Browse the full Ford Pro range or book your test drive on Ford.ie. Claim based on latest published SIMI figures. Test drive subject to availability.
The big end of summer sale is on now at Foy's in Ballybuffet and Letterkenny. Get massive discounts on selected rugs, sofas, beds and dining room furniture. Also on cushions, mirrors, artworks, lighting, paint and so much more. Transform your home with stylish finds at unbeatable prices. But hurry because these deals won't last. Foy's in Ballybuffet and Letterkenny, where your dream home begins. Sale ends soon. Visit foys.ie for details.
Sometimes getting older is a good thing. Take a fine cheese. With steady planning, careful preparation and trusted guidance, at every stage of the process, it matures. At Standard Life, we believe in a similar approach when planning for retirement. Because when you do, things get better with age. Search Retirement Hub or talk to your financial advisor today. Standard Life International DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Now, home care companies operating in Community Health Organisation 1, which includes Donegal, have been informed that the HSE will not fund any additional hours for current home care packages with immediate effect. Jamie Farrelly is Policy and Communications Manager for Home and Community Care Ireland. He joins us on the programme now. Jamie, good morning to you. Thanks for your time.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for having me on.
When was this announcement made?
This was made Thursday before last, so Thursday the 5th. And like I say, the HSE have issued instructions, so it's older people in Donegal who are currently receiving part of a home care package, or the old home help scheme as it was known, and are waiting for additional hours. So what the HSE are saying is, for budget reasons, those people are not going to receive those extra hours of care that they are on the waiting list for. They will still receive the care they're currently getting, and new home care packages can still be issued. But if you are waiting for a home care package, if you have a home care package now and you're waiting for extra hours, you're not going to receive those. So there's about 100 people in Donegal in this situation. And this happens because normally when a person is assessed for a home care package, they'll be assessed for an hour of care every day, or half an hour twice a day. Usually there's trouble, especially where the HSE deliver a lot of the care. There's trouble getting that care on the weekends and in the evenings, or if a client requires 2 carers, they can't get the care. So for those people, they are not getting the care for the rest of the need. So basically, there's been a serious error of planning somewhere within Donegal's home care office. The HSE, why the HSE have done this is they restricted these extra hours now because they're worried that a couple of months down the line, there'll be no funding for any packages at all. And that means that people waiting in hospital won't get out, because that's really who's getting the home care packages now, are people in hospital, and they're doing that to get them out.
Yeah, but the 100-odd clients that you talk of, people that you talk of, obviously have been assessed are in need of additional services. And to learn that certainly in the short to medium term, it seems there's very little hope of that. These clearly are those that are most in need at this time.
Yes, absolutely. So we have the 100 people, and there's another 150 people who are waiting for the full package. Now, like I said, that is still funded. But the question remains, are they going to get their full package? And what is the situation going to look like in 6 weeks, in 2 months, as we really enter the winter rush? How is this going to impact people on the ground? So in the first instance, this is a failure at local level within the HSE. The CHO1 are responsible for managing their own budget. And for reasons that aren't completely clear at the moment, there's been a failure in modelling or control somewhere down the line. To be fair to the HSE head office, they need to make sure that their departments and their offices are responsible and they're accountable. And we're seeing a similar push with acute care in the hospitals.
So,
at the
so are
moment.
you saying that, Jamie, before you continue into that, your view is from what you've seen, this is a mismanagement of the budget, and we're getting perhaps further into the budgetary year, and there's a bit of a panic in that, oh, hold on a second, we could run out of money to fund new care packages if we don't take this measure now.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Because if this was a fundamental problem within the HSE budget, we will be seeing this around the country. So far, we haven't seen this anywhere else in the country. If we do start seeing it across the country, then we need to start asking serious questions about the entire process. But as of now, it's only happening in CHO1, it's only happening in Donegal. Questions need to be asked about that. But in the first instance, we need immediate funding. Either the HSE need to move money around or the government need to allocate extra money, because right now we've gotten this at its early stages. We haven't felt the impact on the ground. But we do need to deliver this. These people cannot wait another 3 months for care.
What does this sentence mean? Home care hours will be only added to existing packages if they become available as a result of an existing client ceasing service. Does that sound like it reads? Is that if someone dies, the hours can be redistributed?
If someone dies, if someone enters hospital, if somebody's on a short-term home care package, maybe to get them out of hospital, it's not only if they were to pass away, there would be other reasons.
How big are the gaps between what we see here in Donegal in Organisation 1 versus, say, for instance, the capital?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, in North Dublin, entire North Dublin, there's no waiting list. There's 0 on the waiting list. Compared to this, about 250 in Donegal, there's about 650 in CHO1.
Right, so just to be clear, there is no one in Dublin North, did you say? No one in Dublin North waiting for a home care package. So if they need to be discharged from hospital or whatever the scenario might be, there's an instant home care package in place for them.
Yeah, within a reasonable time.
Yeah, I mean,
of
course, yes. But
and then other areas of Dublin, it's single figures. So it's not just this one CHO9 is North Dublin, but CHO7 and CHO6, we're seeing really low waiting list numbers. And then, as our latest report, the Home Care Data Series shows, what we effectively have is a 2-tier home care service. You can almost draw a line. Well, before you could draw a line, starting from Sligo down to Dublin. Everywhere above that is doing well. Everywhere above that is stagnating.
So everyone below that's doing well. Everywhere below that line's doing well.
Yes,
and
but this is until this happened.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
It's a real
Okay,
shame
yeah.
because CHO1 was showing good signs of progress. Waiting lists in 2023 went down 14%. There was a 10% increase in delivery, and I think unfortunately this is going to send the waiting list right back up. There's no really way of avoiding that. And what the data also shows, though, is once the waiting list gets high, like we see in Cork and we see in the southeast, they'll stay high. So you guys in Donegal were at a crossroads. You were on the right track, and this has really knocked us back.
Right. So just look at the remind us then of the numbers. So currently, what is the waiting list in Donegal for a home care package?
In total, there's 250 people waiting. There's 150 people waiting for a new package, and there's 100 people waiting for additional hours.
Okay. Which obviously then potentially has a knock-on effect on hospital services. It could be, or what have you as well. Not least, actually, the impact this has on the individuals and their families as well.
Yeah, this could have a huge impact on hospitals. Like I said, that the home care packages have become a really important tool in getting people out of hospital. Hopefully the funding is still there for that. Hopefully that doesn't run out. But like I say, there's a lot of uncertainty at the minute. So we really need to get immediate funding towards. And it's not going to be astronomical, by the way. We don't know exactly how many hours this is. We only have part of the information. We know how many people, not how many hours. But we're talking 6 figures here. It's not an astronomical sum of money.
And just in relation to the funding additional hours, was a reason given as to why it can't happen in Organisation 1?
I think you first should understand the context. That people will be aware that there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes related to the wider health budget, and there's various strategies and directives coming out from HSE head office. So I think that's partly to do with this, that how they modeled at the start is not how they model now because of these things that have happened in the background. But like I said, we need to investigate, we need to allocate funding, we need to really contain the issue, make sure it's only in CHO1 And then we need accountability. We need to stop this happening. I see today the voluntary hospitals calling for multi-annual funding. That would go a long way in the home care sector to stop this.
In terms of
with
planning,
increasing-
for planning purposes, like.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've a 3-year budget instead of a 1-year budget to avoid this. Now we haven't seen this probably since before COVID because funding has improved for home care. So this is the first time in 5 years. We really don't want to go back to where we were before COVID, where you had 2 waiting lists where you're waiting for your funding to be available and then you're waiting for a carer to be available. We don't want to go back there. We're on the right track with home care. A lot of good things happening nationally. But issues like this we need to resolve. And next in budget 2025, we need to kick ahead and expand the home care sector because we've had 2 years now without real expansion. So that's having knock-on effects as well.
So, Jamie, just finally to recap, because you have outlined this before, from your perspective as Policy and Communications Manager for Home and Community Care Ireland, why do you believe 150 are waiting for a care package and now 100 further face a perpetual wait for additional hours on their current home care packages? What is your belief as to what's causing this?
Yeah, like I say, Dublin has no waiting list. So Dublin has seen all the benefits of extra funding. So we need to look at what's the difference between Dublin, what's the difference in Donegal, and population density is the key reason. So you get paid the same rate you do in Donegal as you do in Dublin. Where in Donegal, a home care worker can knock out 5 calls in a morning. You cannot do that in Dublin. Carers don't want to drive for 30 minutes to a call. So we need to allocate extra funding. Australia do this, as you know, extremely remote areas. They 1 to 7, 1 being North Inner City Dublin, 7 being the Inishowen Peninsula. And you pay extra to get carers there. I think they make common sense. Secondly, to go further and pay mileage for home care workers. HSE carers get this, private sectors don't. And then we need to look at using the private sector a bit better. Dublin, it's all private sector. Donegal, it's nearly all HSE. We said there's issues there getting weekend and evening cover. But beyond that, you're just not, there's a tool there, the private sector, and you're not using that. Donegal just is not using the private sector to knock down these waiting lists.
And it seems they're actually trying to move away from that from conversations I've had with people in the private sector. I'm not saying that's the case, but I've spoken to carers before that believe that the intention in our area is actually to bring this in-house. I presume that was nationally, but it's quite the opposite.
No. Individual HSE offices have huge autonomy in how they run the home care service. So it does, a lot of it comes down to the people who are working in that office, and it's really their call. So obviously, like you say, I wasn't really aware of this, but the people in Donegal are trying to bring it back in. Other parts of the country are trying their best to get the private sector in. And actually other countries in the world, is Sweden, for example, we always say has this great public system. They really have the doors open for the private sector because they want that extra capacity.
Yeah, as a pattern develops here with these conversations, Jamie, I'm not asking you to comment on this, but, we seem to use, in terms of like the ambulance service, fire service and policing services, we use a model, the same model often in urban areas as we do in rural areas. And it seems we're doing that here with this type of work, in that it is a very different scenario, how someone can live and work and provide these services in an urban setting versus a rural setting. And you've quite clearly outlined the differences there. Would there be much resistance within healthcare to different payment structures dependent on where you are, or is there precedent already in place there? Will Dublin carers say, well, hold on a second, why are they getting paid more in Inishowen? Or do we have, or do you think it could work?
I think nationally we've had this kind of conversation, I think, with teachers. Well, actually, it's more to pay them a Dublin premium is the opposite way around. I know that the Department of Health are taking the issue of the rural waiting lists seriously. I mean, if you look at the data, you can't ignore it. You just can't ignore the fact that the waiting lists are higher in rural areas. So I think there is a growing momentum towards these extra incentives. There will be roadblocks to it and details to be ironed out.
That being said, I can answer my own question, actually, because particular initiatives were put in place to try and hire occupational therapists and other people working in that area in Donegal. So there probably is a precedent there. We'd see how it play out. All right, Jamie, listen, it's been a very interesting, informative conversation. We do appreciate your time. We watch on with interest. I mean, how far through are we in the budgetary year? Is that clear?
Yeah, the budgetary year will run till the end of 2025. So for these 100 people, they'll be waiting till the end of the year at
Wow.
least to get their care. But like I say, actually, you're probably going to find a much longer waiting list if this keeps on at the end of the year. So there's no guarantee that come January 1st, they'll get their care.
And inevitably, people get tagged onto the end of that list. Because
Yeah,
it's if it's not being serviced, it's a list that only grows.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it. Take care of yourself. Okay, let's take a quick break. I'll be back with the weather after these messages.
Today's 9 till noon show comes to you in association with Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville. Great offers on sofas, suites, beds and dining tables. All furniture, all this month at Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville.
Join the team at Homeland Agri Creasla on Thursday 19th of September at 7 p.m. for a sheep breeding information evening. Learn from speakers on the evening, including John McGee, who will speak about ram fertility and maintenance, advisor Brian Dolan on current sheep schemes, and MSD vet Eleanor Brady. Spot prizes, goodie bags and refreshments on the evening. Visit homeland.ie for more information.
Raymond Sweeney here to introduce you to heat pump tumble dryers. With these dryers you can save up to 50% on energy use, enjoy softer clothes, and thanks to advanced sensor drying technology, you will have wrinkle-free laundry every time. Upgrade your drying experience today with a heat pump tumble dryer, now available at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, or the shopping centre Dunlow.
Apply online for learner permit and driving licence services, including renewals, updates, exchanges, and replacements. It's easy and hassle-free. Visit NDLS online today at ndls.rsa.ie. Verified MyGov ID required. A message from the Road Safety Authority.
Thinking of changing your floors? Why not see what Florid Letterkenny has to offer? Florid have a large selection of solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring together with a fantastic choice of parquet, herringbone flooring, all at incredible value. Don't delay. Call Florid today on 087 161 7008.
Eurodreams is the new game from the National Lottery, where you could win €20,000 a month for the next 30 years. That's €20,000 every month for 30 years. Draws take place every Monday and Thursday, so pick up a Eurodreams ticket for your chance to win.
Play responsibly, in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Support local at McElhenny's. With 53 years experience in fashion, beauty and home, we're here for you. Plus, enjoy M-Card rewards when you shop in-store at McElhenny's Ballybuffet.
Okay, let's look at the weather forecast, and it's going to be quite samey throughout the course of this week, but in this instance, it's not bad news. The mist and fog has cleared at this stage, and it's going to be generally dry. Might become a little cloudier, spots of drizzle here and there, but generally lovely weather today. Temperatures 70 to 21 degrees. Tomorrow, dry with improving sunshine. Temperatures 17 to 22 degrees. The winds will be light, and that weather is going to persist through the entire week and into the weekend, and uncertain at this point as to how it might change for the weekend. But this week is going to be really quite pleasant, if that's your thing. Just to mention of our competition today, you could win a €200 voucher thanks to our friends at Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville. They're sponsoring the show this week, and we're asking you a little bit of a word jumble. We want you to rearrange these letters, B-L-E-A-T, or bleat, B-L-E-A-T, into something that you could purchase at Breeden's House and Home, Bridgend. Text or WhatsApp your answer to 086 60 25,000. We'll draw one of those out of the hat. It's not really a hat, it's like a digital thing, but it's random, and we'll do that later on. And one of you is going to win 200, and there's a 200 Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Texter says, once again, Gregory has to state his view by stating that he doesn't subscribe to a listener's opinion and then tries to backtrack. Gregory is there to represent a show or present a show and not express his personal views. That's not strictly true. By the way, this is not a news bulletin. This is a current affairs show, and of course, I'm bound by certain rules and regulations. I believe this must be in relation to the fact that someone believed that the assassination attempt on Donald Trump was a ruse to bolster his campaign. I'm perfectly entitled to say I wouldn't necessarily subscribe to that point of view, and make a comment and then open up to other listeners and to try and trigger conversation and what have you. Estate agents who sold houses that now have defective concrete, should it not be they who should be obliged to repair the house and not the people who bought these houses in good faith and paying a mortgage? Yeah, you would feel, but I think anyone purchasing a house now really would want to be doing robust testing to ensure there's no deleterious materials in there. Hi, Greg. On Friday the 13th, a young woman allowed her dog to foul on a pavement in Guesthouse and Raffo. Never lifted it, just walked on. This is a very busy area with kids, mums and prams and walkers. If people can't pick up their dog poo, they shouldn't have one. Here, I agree. If I'm allowed to say that, can't I? I can say I agree that you should be able to pick up your poo. Oh, you should have to pick up your poo. All right, it is the 9 till noon show. Loads more coming up over the next couple of hours. Back after these.
Today's 9 till noon show comes to you in association with Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville. Great offers on sofas, suites, beds and dining tables. All furniture, all this month at Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville.
My name is Sharon Ferguson, Mental Health and Wellbeing Project Officer in ATU Letterkenny. After completing Let's Talk About Suicide, a free online suicide prevention training programme from the HSE, I am empowered to make a difference, and you can too. Visit hse.ie/Let's Talk to take part.
Attention golfers, McGurk's Golf Letterkenny is celebrating the Irish Open with an unbeatable men's end-of-season shirt sale. Get up to 50% off top brands like Under Armour, Adidas and Calvin Klein. Visit us in Letterkenny Retail Park, but be quick. Offers only while stocks last.
Home Store and More is 20 years old. Can you believe it? 20 years of being a part of Irish homes. We started with one store in Tallaght, County Dublin, and now we have 24 stores across Ireland. To celebrate our big birthday, we're giving you, our customers, a chance to win new prizes every day all this week. Yes, you heard right. New prizes every day all this week. So come visit us in store or online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Get the right tools or equipment to get the job done with great hire deals at Watson Hire in Letterkenny. Everything from diggers to power tools, dumpers to portaloos, and pressure washers to cherry pickers. Watson's offer a fast and reliable service. To book, call Watson Hire in Letterkenny on 9167777.
Are you tired of waiting for treatment or surgery? Did you know you can receive immediate treatment across the border under the new NI planned healthcare scheme at potentially no cost? Donegal patients are still being treated with us at Kingsbridge Private Hospital Northwest post-Brexit. The process is easy and our dedicated team will help guide you through it. So why wait? Contact us today to find out how you can skip the waiting lists and receive treatment in Northern Ireland. Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com, because life matters.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. The level of cross-border cooperation between Donegal, Derry and Tyrone is being marked today with Taoiseach Simon Harris's first official visit to Derry. He'll deliver a lecture at Magee and visit the Guildhall, where he's expected later this morning to make a significant announcement under the Shared Island Fund. That will see over €7.5 million for the ongoing branding collaboration between the Wild Atlantic Way and the Causeway Coastal Route, with part of the funding going toward attractions along the route that stretches from Inishowen to Cork. Joan Crawford is Wild Atlantic Way manager with Fáilte Ireland. On today's 9 till noon show, she told Greg Hughes this funding is very significant.
Just 7.6 million. It's looking at doing a small grant scheme for visitor attractions to enhance the visitor experience. So it's looking at those all-weather attractions. Given the summer that we've had this year, it's an ideal opportunity. So there'll be 1.2 million spent between Donegal, small part of Leitrim and Sligo on visitor attractions. We're also looking at marketing opportunities within the GB.
Meanwhile, it's reported this morning that the city deal for the Derry City and Strabane district will be signed as planned this week. On Friday evening, it emerged the British government was pausing city deals across the UK. However, over the weekend, Northern Secretary Hilary Benn said he looks forward to visiting Derry as planned this week for the signing of the document. There could soon be traffic lights governing the junction of Pierce Road and Old Town Road at the Old Duns roundabout in Letterkenny. As works got underway to put lights on two roundabouts on the Ramelton Road, Members of Letterkenny Milford Municipal District have been told the junction is being included in the priority list of schemes for low-cost safety works. The Letterkenny Integrated Land Use and Transportation Study, carried out in 2009, recommended the erection of traffic lights at this junction. Officials say if funding is received, works can be carried out to implement the appropriate measures. Well, Councillor Donald Coyle, who raised the issue, says the junction is much busier now than it was 15 years ago.
Volume of traffic coming into Letterkenny and going out of Letterkenny has certainly increased over that period of time. This is just a mini roundabout. It's not much bigger, this side than a fried goose egg, to be honest. You have two lanes coming in from the main street and from O'Donnell Park. You have two lanes coming in the Pearse Road. You have a lane coming from Old Town, and you have the exit coming out of Dunstores. It's far too small.
Housing, healthcare and the cost of living are among the topics up for discussion at 3 political party think-ins which are taking place today. Sinn Féin, Fianna Fáil and the Greens are all holding their annual policy meetings in Dublin today. It comes ahead of the return of the Dáil on Wednesday of this week. Donald Trump has thanked everyone for their concern and well wishes after what's been described as an apparent assassination attempt on the former US president. Secret Service agents spotted a gunman in the bushes as the Republican presidential candidate played golf at his club in Florida. It's reported a suspect has been arrested. His White House rival Kamala Harris says she's deeply disturbed by what happened. Gardaí and Tusla are investigating allegations of abuse involving young children at a Dublin creche. The Irish Times reports today 2 childcare workers have been suspended as a result of the claims, while 2 others have been suspended for failing to report allegations promptly. They include reports of slapping children's heads, hitting their legs, force-feeding them until they vomit, repeatedly calling a child fatty and wiping children's noses so hard that they fell backwards and hurt their heads. Irish Times social affairs correspondent Kitty Holland broke the story.
This is because of the alleged abuse of toddlers aged between 2 and 3, up to 6 toddlers, in this childcare setting by 2 members of staff, and then the other 2 were suspended allegedly or apparently for not reporting the alleged abuse promptly enough.
And the Sinn Féin leader is open to the idea of Jarlath Burns as the party's candidate in next year's presidential election. The GAA president is rumoured to be an option for the party, despite the fact that his current role doesn't expire until 2027. Muriel MacDonald says he's already proving himself as a strong leader.
Jarlath Burns is an outstanding Uachtaráin Cumann Lú Clasgael. I think he's just an incredible person and personality. I mean, that's a matter for himself, but I find it hard to imagine a leadership role that Jarlath couldn't fulfil. And I know him a very long time, and he's doing a great job. And sure, who knows?
Dry with sunny spells today. A little cloudier in Donegal with the odd spot of drizzle possible along the coast. Top temperatures of 17 to 21 degrees Celsius in mostly light southeast to south breezes. And the good news is good weather set to continue right through the week. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11. Check all of today's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning. The obituary notices for this Monday morning, the 16th of September. The death has taken place of Anne Quigg, Bridge House, Ballygorman, Mallinhead. Funeral details will be confirmed later. The death has taken place of Mary McGrath, Farland View, Moness, Burt. Funeral from her late residence this afternoon for Requiem Mass in St Angus's Church, Burt at 2 o'clock, followed by interment in Burt Cemetery. Family time, please, today. The funeral mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. And the death has taken place of Eric Kurt Brundon, 13 Ballycoman Estate, Strabane, formerly of Vancouver, reposing at Quigley's funeral home this evening from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Melmount on Wednesday morning at 10. Private cremation afterwards in Lakelands Crematorium. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
so nice to come to the cinema now the kids are back in school. Might actually get to watch the film for a change.
We interrupt this moment for just a sec to let you know that Aldi's got back to school sorted with snacktastic offers at healthy prices, like mini easy peelers and mini rice cakes from just 49 cent. And for after school meals, fresh Irish meats for under €3 each, like Boardbia quality assured pork belly strips and beef meatballs.
Oh no, I left my glasses at home.
Go all Aldi.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
Or indeed give us a call on 07491 25,000. Good morning. You're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. We were talking in the first hour to a lady who came to the assistance of another lady, an older lady, thought to be in her 80s, who's up in Letterkenny from down south, and she became wanton, desperate for the toilet. She was in, how would you describe that area, Caroline? How would you describe that area of shops in Letterkenny? Some people have a nickname for it. The new retail park. We'll not use the nickname, right? The new retail park. She became desperate for the toilet there and was told the nearest toilet is McDonald's, and tried to cross over the road, fell over. It was raining and she fell and hurt herself and still required the toilet. But thankfully, the listener assisted her, took her for a cup of tea and everything, which is fantastic. But it comes down to the fact that why are there still no public toilets in that new retail park? And this caller asks really quite a very good question, I think, and it's a simple one. I don't understand how planning permission can be granted to large shopping centres without accessible public toilets being included in the application. I think most people would have to agree with that. Simon Harris, Taoiseach Simon Harris is in Derry today. A caller asks, will the A5 route be announced today? Well, that's subject to ongoing litigation, isn't it? The Irish government has committed to part fund the A5, so unless he reiterates that, I don't think any announcement can come today. Excuse me, please. I was going to a shop in a town in Donegal and I was told I wasn't allowed to use the toilets in the shop. The pub next door was also closed. There were no toilet facilities in the shop for the public. This is happening across the board. And on this occasion, I believe they were in Carndonna. And as I say, there seemed to be a particular incident here in Donegal as well of conditions that people might need a toilet at very short notice. Greg, there's no point in promoting the Wild Atlantic Way at the moment as there's no accommodation in Donegal, none that people can afford. Yeah, and maybe that's reflected in tourism numbers. I'll be very interested to see the Donegal tourism figures for this year compared to last or previous years. I would burn my Oasis tickets if the Wolf Tones had any part in the performance. They have spent their career inciting their audience into hatred for anything British. Okay, that's from a caller who saw them previously and didn't like their performances or indeed some of their songs whereby the IRA is mentioned in it. So that's one listener's point of view. They would burn their Oasis tickets. I wonder, do they have them though? Just wondering if anyone else had issue with Air charging late fees. That's the phone company. I had paid the bill for the previous month, and on my most recent, I was being charged for this month, last month, and a late payment fee. When I mentioned it in the post office, I was informed it was the third time that morning that someone had this issue. So this could be really useful, you know. Because maybe there's many of you out there, or maybe there isn't, but maybe there are many of you out there who've, or maybe check your bills to see if there's a late fee from Air. This is a listener who is fully up to date with their bill, but noticed a late payment fee, and the post office informed them that they were the third person that morning that had this issue. Anyone else out there, let us know, because it might be something we need to raise with Air if it's widespread. 086 60 25,000. We'd be more than happy to get behind that. A caller says, why aren't there street lights from Rorty's house in Knockastralla to Bumbeg Crossroads? This is where they're needed most. There's been a new footpath and lights installed this past year from Fire Crossroads to Bumbeg Crossroads, which is about 5k. They did realign the corner at Rorty's house a few months ago, so I'm not sure if this is why there aren't lights on that section, but not sure about the rest of the road towards Bumbeg as the footpath has been there for years. So that's quite specific to an area there. A quick recap for this hour of today's competition. It's in association with our sponsors, Breedon's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville. They've got a vast array of goodies in both stores for you, of course, and you will have €200 to go towards a purchase because we've got a €200 voucher to give away today. And we're asking you to rearrange some letters to create a household object that you can buy in Breedon's. The letters are BLEAT, bleat. Rearrange those letters to come up with a household item that you'd expect to find, and you would, in Breedon's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville. Text or WhatsApp your answer to 086 60 25,000 and you could win that €200 voucher today. And we've got 200 each day this week.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday, the 16th of September. You're playing on the green sheet. The reference number is S6. It's game number 38. The numbers are 87, 14, 20, 68, 59, 63, 4, 88, 71, and finally 29. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
PDO thread lifts and skin boosters, which rejuvenate the skin by improving facial contours, lifting and tightening the jowls, neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. To choose the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat-dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. 07495 325 75.
Woohoo! You're listening to Highland Radio, broadcasting to some of the 1,000 millionaires made by the National Lottery so far. Next time you play a National Lottery game, it really could be you. Woo! Play responsibly, play for fun. See lottery.ie for more details.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny Clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who aren't able to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Today's 9 till noon show comes to you in association with Breedon's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville. Great offers on sofas, suites, beds and dining tables. All furniture, all this month at Breedon's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville.
Okay, for many of us, me, or many of the listeners who enjoy sport, you would have noticed at one point cigarettes seemed to be everywhere in sport, at another it would be something else, and now you would notice that betting, gambling seems to be an integral part of sports coverage. Perhaps we're in at an advantage because we've seen it happen and maybe we can differentiate a little bit in what's going on. But if you were born in the last, I don't know how many years, a couple of decades or whatever, you might not be able to differentiate between sport and enjoying sport and gambling, such as the way it's marketed and the amount of money they use to sponsor it and what have you. And some of the major companies that provide sport also having an interest in betting. Sky amongst them, DAZN, they launched DAZN. Next thing you know, there's a DAZN betting app. So one seems to support the other. Our children see gambling now as a normal part of sport. This is from the work of Dr. Paul James Kitchens, Senior Lecturer at Ulster University School of Sport, and he's with us right now. Dr. Paul, thank you so much for joining us. So I suppose it's very interesting to read this. I don't think much of it might surprise us. What were your findings, Paul?
Hi, Greg. Thanks very much for offering me to come on today and talk about this research, which is very, very interesting. But I mean, our findings really revolved around sort of four particular areas that, unlike you and me, these 18-year-olds and under no longer fight for the remote control. They're watching TV on their mobile phones, in their bedrooms, in their schools, wherever it might be. They're watching it, and of course they're therefore exposed to a significant number of gambling messages and communications. The second part being that exposure was so detailed that they could recall many adverts. They could discuss what were funny ones and what were not. They knew them inside and out. and they could associate people and brands with gambling. And then obviously from that, there's a range of sort of perceptions and misunderstandings that come from that. And probably the most important one is young people don't associate social harm from gambling. They just think you can lose your money. But in that, they still think that gambling makes a nice fit with sport compared to, say, Vodafone sponsorship of rugby or fast food company sponsorship of sport. So they're all three sort of concerning findings. And yes, so the important research, that's the first sort of time in the Republic of Ireland we've studied children's views of gambling marketing.
And it's not surprising, is it? I mean, I'm not sure if they still use the tagline, but there's one betting company up until very recently, their tagline, "It matters more when there's money on it." The advertisers will chase the young people and the rest of us to where they are. So yes, you can see a goal just as it's scored in the Premier League, but there's a roll ad beforehand and it's for a betting company. And the sense is that you're really only enjoying something with your mates if you're betting 50p on the next throw-in. But we know that's not what happens, isn't it?
No, that's right. That's right. And of course, the marketing of gambling is very important to keep new customers coming in, because while there are significant customers with significant personal and social issues, there's still a big throughput of customers all the time. So appealing to young people to become new customers of gambling operators is very, very important. And making sure they see or associate sport and gambling with being with your mates and sharing things is particularly important, even if that is a far cry from the experience of those people who have very serious issues with their gambling.
And it's how they consume the sport too. It's interesting because, most people with teenagers might know this, but I've got... two of my boys are teenagers, both could literally tell you anything about soccer, for an example.
Yeah.
But I don't recall either of the two of them ever sitting through a game. It's not how they watch it now. They know everything that's happened. They can sit and go through all the talking points, but from the blow off to the end, maybe I'm wrong on a rare occasion, but they don't watch sport like that.
No, we found that most of the young people that watch sport, watch highlights of sport on whether it be the football apps, the Sky Sports apps, various ways of getting information. And of course, they watch curated YouTube videos, which unfortunately are top and tail with gambling communications, which was what we found also in our follow-up to this study.
How aware are children about the loss of money or the consequences of it?
Yes, you're right. That's one thing that young people are aware of, that you'll lose money from that. And some of the young people in the conversation we had around Letterkenny and Derry, they realise you could lose your house. But that connection between, well, then your family's at risk and then other people are at risk wasn't quite put together. So while that's fine that young people don't know that, I think it's really important for us to try and communicate that there are social harms that come from disordered gambling.
I'd say all of the children would have been aware that you can become addicted to drink and drugs and the issues that create. Was there an awareness of the potential for addiction to gambling amongst young people?
It wasn't so much an awareness for an addiction, because we focus very much on young people who consume sport.
Right.
And therefore we didn't go much into sort of gambling habits. And of course, that was important because we wanted to look at young people in Ireland who watch sport, which is a more generic thing than young people who might enjoy a bet. And of course, it's very important to make sure that they were aware of whatever risks and stuff they come up with, and it was very much that personal risk. You could lose money, but no further than that as such. And the understanding of how you get hooked wasn't quite as informed as other older people we'd spoken to as well.
What was the brand awareness of gambling betting companies amongst young people?
Fairly strong. There is one gambling operator who's very well known across the island of Ireland for very innovative and amusing communications they have. But this is all part of their raison d'etre, to entertain and to get people to like their brand. And therefore, when you're looking at your first betting app on your phone, that's the brand that comes to mind. That's the one you choose. So they did have good knowledge of the companies, yeah.
In the blurred lines then between gambling and sport providers, betting companies, was there any polling of the younger people to determine if they realised that they were actually a product, in other words, or?
In terms of the
children were the product effectively, or did they just? I wonder, did they just say no? It's gambling in the sport is gambling. But I wonder, did they realize that it's that these companies are actually targeting?
No, they felt that they weren't being targeted. Now, whoever we spoke to, whether it be 14-year-olds or 17-year-olds, all thought it was someone else. And that might be an argument to say, well, actually, they don't know about who's targeted, and the adverts aren't having directed at them. But they gave us detailed recall of particular adverts which were not aimed at them, were not targeted at them, but still could recall who was in it, where they was, what the strap line was, all these things. So while it might not be officially directed at them, they are very well aware of it and they understand it completely.
Because the marketing is very clever. I mean, you might have, say, for instance, a drinks company, a massive drinks company, and the pressure might be on them not to be so involved in sport. So how do you get your name out there? Well, what you do is you start pushing your 0-0 product, right? Because it's a good message, isn't it? You can enjoy your football and remember how it happens, but you're actually really, what you're also doing is you're getting your brand to people. And I think an awful lot of the with the betting, where it's set your limits and all this kind of stuff, that message is so saturated now that really those ads actually feel like just further pushing the brand to people, if that makes sense.
That's correct, absolutely correct. And I think in phase one in this research, we had some inklings from various young people in these 3 sites that we researched, that they sort of understood that. And of course, when we did the follow-up, and we saw that very clearly in terms of those links between us. So they don't really understand the safer gambling messages in the focus groups, but they do understand it's a way of developing a brand. They could talk about whose safer gambling adverts, or indeed how one operator had more amusing safer gambling adverts than others. So
do we know if, say, for instance, your Eric Cantona's or whoever it might be, their involvement in gambling advertisement, did that particularly land or have an effect on young people?
Yes, we looked at some examples of social media influencers, including an ex-footballer who is now a celebrity in his own right, and work he does with one operator with his wife. And it was his wife that cut through with some of the young women in our groups. And they're able to connect that to the footballer, and without trying to name him or the gambling operator, they knew that he was associated with football, which the whole reason for him being involved was he wasn't meant to be for this age group. They would have seen him as a celebrity, but they knew he's an ex-footballer. They associate the sport. And then the other example being a larger, more famous international celebrity, and his inability to do very well at gambling was also well known. And they see these people and how it impacts their lifestyles, and they may want that sort of lifestyle.
Yeah,
that's a real concern.
It's interesting because we see lots of very famous sports people promoting gambling, and then we have this other cohort of former sports people who themselves became addicted to gambling on the other side of it, out there trying to push an alternative message. It really is almost like a battle for the minds of the young people, isn't it? You mentioned this a little earlier on about the focus groups, and you've mentioned one of which was in Letterkenny. I want to understand the purpose of showing them the shirts with a fast food provider, a gambling firm, and a communications company, and then getting them to respond to that, and how you interpreted those answers. So what was the purpose of that exercise?
Sure. Well, one of the key things, as a parent of teenagers, Greg, like myself, is getting young people to talk in groups is quite difficult sometimes. So what we use is photos to elicitate discussion. So we use them throughout the focus groups. And when you show a photo, people feel they've got something to talk to or talk about. So what we wanted to do was, rather than, particularly important in this, not just go in with gambling messages. They knew this topic and talk was going to be on gambling, but instead of that, we entered with a Vodafone sponsorship of a big Irish sports property. We looked at a fast food sponsorship of a football club, and then we looked at a gambling sponsorship of a English Premier League club. Excuse me, Greg. And then we got them to talk about what they might be trying to do and what it means. So therefore, they knew that it would bring in money, it could buy new players, new kit, new resources. That's all very well and good. And a couple made the association with they're trying to look good because these sports brands are good. Then we asked them to rank their suitability. So we had 3 choices. So obviously 1, 2, or 3. And we would assume that probably Vodafone would come out because most of them are mobile phone customers and they know about these sort of brands. And then we thought, because we're here to talk about gambling marketing and we're, obviously a bit concerned in it, they'd probably rank that last, but they didn't. They ranked most of the focus groups ranked gambling operator as the highest or most suitable fit for sport, which we believe echoes this idea of the normalisation of sport, because the kids felt it has the most to do with sport, and then the phone, and then the fast food company. So they've already associated that fast food's unhealthy, doesn't associate with sport, therefore it shouldn't be ranked higher, yet they're not making that connection with gambling and sport.
Now, these focus group meetings were held in Derry, Letterkenny and Newry, and I'm sure it didn't form part of the study, but I just wonder, going through the data, were there any geographical differences that were so obvious that they jumped out?
No, I think the only differences were in terms of the sports that young people like to watch.
Okay.
Now, that's because the way we recruited to things, we use community associations and local sports clubs. And so, of course, those local sports clubs dictate what the young people are probably most interested in. So where we've got two sports, one sport in Newry and one sport in Letterkenny, we had a community association in Derry, and that they were sort of more multi-sport. So there's slight differences there, but generally the findings, as you'll see them in that paper, are generalised across all three groups and all 51 young people.
Yeah, everyone will remember looking back when the snooker was sponsored by Embassy, and every racing car and Marlboro on the side of it, whatever it would be, and then we came to a point in society where we realised that this was damaging, actually mostly to adults, I think, funny enough. And we said, right, we're going to have to get rid of this. And I remember all of these sports saying, we're going to have to leave the crucible, and there'll never be Formula One again, and this is just going to signal the death. But you know what? Things changed, and everyone survived. Are we at a point whereby, the UK, Ireland governments need to actually sort of try and decouple gambling in sport? And for the most part, it probably is new adapters. I think a lot of adults, we can always take a different path in life, but maybe our behavior is locked in to some extent. But we've a responsibility to new generations of people coming through to say, right, we looked at the public health impacts of smoking. When are we going to start looking at the public health impacts of gambling? And as I say, it's particularly, I think, to protect children and adolescents.
That's correct, yes. I mean, hopefully as soon as possible, Greg, because in the gambling bill currently proceeding through Parliament, and then obviously with the white paper from the UK Parliament, and of course this research involves North and South on this island, both governments have a vested interest in looking to restrict young people from harm. Kids have rights. They have a right not to sit and watch gambling communications as it goes. But in terms of the concerns about what this would mean for sport if this was all banned, then of course, yes, that is the industry's playbook, because tobacco use it, alcohol's used it, all these harmful products. We know marketing impacts public health, so we're waiting for a government, and there'll be a debate about this because there are people who don't believe this. They might feel it's intrusion, but I don't feel that I don't feel. I do feel kids have rights, and it's not necessarily for me to say, but for governments to protect those rights.
I think what's actually required is brave legislators that have to make tough decisions. And listen, in fairness, it's happened in the past, but this is about batting off the lobbying, batting off the argument about this, that, and the other. But the problem is like even something like horse racing in this country, we're so married to it, right? We actually financially support it out of taxpayers' money, which is crazy. So we've a long way to go, I think. But it's going to take brave legislation, someone who's going to be prepared to be right, even though they're told they're going to be wrong.
Well, I felt Minister Brown was pretty brave with the gambling bill as it is so far. I mean, his words around this idea, this is a public health bill, it's to restrict harm. They're all very important. I mean, he's showing a lot of bravery. This industry is very well funded. It's supported by a range of think tanks and other organisations who see this as the thin end of the wedge. So people who produce very sugary drinks, fast food, they'll all be concerned about this because, like dominoes, they could fold, and we could see that this communication just isn't important for our kids, and they can make their own decisions around their lifestyle when they turn the right age.
And finally, I think often at this point, there's people listening, adults listening, who are kind of going, hold on a second, this is another government overreach. I'm a fully grown adult. I can do with what my... gambling will always exist, and gambling will be never banned. What we're talking about here is companies spending billions of euro specifically to target young people to try to get them gambling. And they're trying to pour water on the seeds of opening boxes to see what prize you can get from, opening card packs in your game of FIFA. This is the next stage after that. Those seeds have been sown. And now, as you head into your teenage years and you've got your phone, this is the next stage of it. So this is not about a man or woman who wants to put a fiver each way in the Grand National or bet on the outcome of a football match. This is about how our children are being actively targeted as potential.
Absolutely agree. Let me be very clear. This research is around the communication of gambling to all sorts of people from all sorts of backgrounds. It's not about stopping gambling or preventing people who are legal gamblers to actually bet more or to bet. It's simply to produce or reduce the amount of exposure that young people are seeing against their choice when they want to watch sport, whether it be on their mobile phones or on TV at home with their friends and family.
All right, it's fascinating stuff. Thank you very much, Dr. Paul James Kitchen. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Greg.
Take care. He's senior lecturer at Ulster University School of Sport. Do you have a view on that? And it could be completely at odds to what I think myself and the doctor possibly agree on. There is the targeting of young people, and it has become a norm here, and the market's established here for betting companies. But it's interesting to note today that Paddy Power, one of the biggest betting companies of all, they've targeted €315 million into Brazil. Is that a euro sign or a pound sign? But anyway, so in Brazil currently at the moment, and this would be an interesting thing to watch actually, so we could actually watch from ground zero as to how marketing and money can change something around. Because currently at the moment, and what a lovely place to live in Brazil, 1 in 10 people have a gambling problem. So they could, presumably, we could see that number increase. Paddy Power Flutter, the company behind Paddy Power and Betfair, is taking a hefty punt of €350 million in the Brazilian market. The gambling powerhouse is eyeing up a majority stake in a company over there. Flutter Entertainment wants to purchase a 56% stake in NSX Group, which owned Bet McDonald. Flutter will increase the stake in NSX to 5 and 10 years time once the deal is sealed. So there's probably obviously see a potential in that market. They're prepared to spend big.
Today's 9 till noon show comes to you in association with Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville. Great offers on sofas, suites, beds and dining tables. All furniture, all this month at Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville.
Tá ofigeigh feara a narcú ag garda cósta na hÉireann Jarbhra, I Gionn-Mhálána agus I Maile Átha Cliath. Mayday relay. Mayday relay. Bíonn sé de dúlgus oran mission tarthála a chomhthordú, de snámhatha, de mharatha agus de aine eile a bhfuil cabhair uathu. Taigem Rescue 115. Lanaraig leis an tarthal. Fanan ofigeigh feara sucr agus iad faoi bhrú. Níl an dara rá againn, sin an cí a sábháil imíd daoine. Cur iiritas isteach aniu publicjobs.ie.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
Here's some exciting news. On Thursday, 26th of September, Efficient Renewables are opening a new showroom. Be there from 11 a.m. for expert advice on solar panels, eco-forest heat pumps, through-air ventilation systems and SEAI grants. There's also info from the credit union on finance options available. Highland Radio's Around the Northwest show with John Breslin will be live from 12 until 2:30 p.m. with the ribbon cutting at 1:15 p.m. Plus, there's a chance to win a 10-panel solar system with inverter. T's and C's apply.
You've heard of the egg muffin, but have you heard of the gloriously delicious Centra egg muffin with the legendary Super Queen sausage? An Irish national treasure. The egg muffin is a sizzling new addition to Centra deli counters around the country, meaning breakfast just got so much better. Centra, live every day.
Hamilton is coming to the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre on Monday 21st of October 2024. This hugely popular musical is almost sold out, but here at Highland Radio we've got you covered. We include luxury transfers, overnight stay at the 4-star City North Hotel Dublin, your ticket to the show and a shopping trip to Dublin the next day. To book, simply call us on 074 9125,000 or visit the outlet at highlandradio.com.
Okay, we're joined on the programme now by Senator Nicky Bradley, who of course is a Fine Gael general election candidate here in County Donegal. Good morning to you, Nicky. Thanks for your time.
No worries. Good to be on. Greg, how are you?
Good, thanks. Good. You've been raising the issue of legroom on, I suppose, general. Is it public transport, airplanes, or is it specific to airlines that are trying to squeeze as many people in as possible? What's your experiences been?
Well, to be honest, it's far from just airlines, I have to say. It's everything down to auditoriums. And I mean, I've had experiences locally here in the older the auditorium or the venue, say if you're going to the theatre, a few places like that, the older the building, the worse it is. And yes, certainly airlines, buses, trains, etc. I've seen huge issues depending on the airline. We all know a certain one that tries to squeeze as many on as possible. The legroom there is for somebody like myself is very uncomfortable if you're traveling long haul, to the point where I now have to just bear the brunt of additional costs and go with different airlines because it's you arrive in agony and it's not worth it.
Are they in any way accommodating?
To be fair to them, so if we were to just be specific with an airline, to be fair, they can't actually do anything. And what I would say is, and with with traveling in general for people with disabilities, what I had to learn the hard way a long time ago is it's up to me. The onus is on me as the person with a disability to be as prepared as possible. So, for example, even down to when I'm booking my flight, because my prosthetic is on the right leg, I will always book a seat on the left-hand side of the plane on the aisle. So when the aisle is, and I wouldn't want to obstruct the walkway for anyone else, but during the flight, when the aisle is clear, and if I am in pain, at least I have that space that I can tilt my body and put my leg out into the aisle just to get a little bit of relief. Whereas if you're in the middle, I know nobody likes to travel in the middle, but for somebody with a disability, it's a no-go. So yeah, that's.
And often too with the budget airlines or the smaller airlines too, they often you have to use the steps, or they park the planes in more remote parts of the airport. So there might be a shuttle bus, right? But you still have to walk down the stairs of the plane, make your way to the shuttle bus, stand often because the seats are all gone because I'm never out quick enough. And then back to the airport, and then a long way even just to, passport control or whatever it might be. So again, that's another thing, maybe pushing people with a disability into the more expensive airlines.
Yes, it is to a certain extent. But what I will say in defense of the airlines, they do run, obviously, they have assistance that you can avail of. You can avail of that when you're booking your flight. And it's the same with parking at the airport. If you have a blue badge, you can park in certain spots. Specifically with the stairs on an airline, I will say they're an issue even with assistance, because the wheelchair is at the bottom of the steps.
Mm-hmm.
So the passenger has to get from the top to the bottom. And quite often, if you are a wheelchair user and you've no way down yourself, you will be carried. And I think what people forget is, and what I would encourage people to do, is put yourself in that person's shoes. Imagine starting your holiday that way. Imagine the loss of dignity that you would feel in that moment, where everyone will be openly staring at you. They'll try not to, but you can see them at the corner of your eye staring. That's simply not good enough.
And being carried is quite a personal thing as well, as much as anything.
100%. Yeah. It's I don't know. It hasn't happened to me. I do have a disability, so I can certainly empathize more so than maybe a lot of people. But I can't imagine what that must feel like. And I just think that there's no reason for that anymore. There should be alternative measures in place for people with disabilities to safely disembark an airline while maintaining their dignity.
Yeah, and often when we talk about these the issues that affect people with a disability in particular, we're talking about those that do travel and what they endure, or those that try and drive into a town and they get frustrated that a parking space is unavailable due to someone illegally parking there. And it always comes to my mind then those that have had the one experience or the two experience and stop going into town, or stop refusing that invite to a wedding in Italy or something. Do you know what I mean? Because they don't want to face that hassle or indignity, or however they want to frame it in their own perspective.
Exactly. And I think as well, what we need to remember is that for people to put themselves in that situation in the first place may have taken, a big pep talk for them that morning to actually go in the first place. And then if all of that happens, that is exactly why they then don't want to do it again. And it's really hard to push yourself and make yourself just revisit that unpleasant experience. But what I would say is, and again, this is, I can't make anybody do anything, but what I would encourage people to do is to not give up on that, because that is your direct link with your own independence. And there are certain things that, that you can do that will make life a little bit easier. I know that I'm currently working with the DDAI, the Disabled Drivers Association of Ireland, to bring in a text alert scheme to try, and we launched it last year in Galway, to try and reduce the misuse of the illegal parking in blue badge bays. So the idea behind that would be that you'd simply text the warden if you saw somebody misusing them, and that warden can then come and issue a fine. So there are things that are happening to help people. But what I would just really encourage people to do is to not give up on it, because it genuinely breaks my heart when I hear those stories, and I hear them all the time, that you have a bad experience with travel and it stops you from going wherever it is you want to go.
I mean, for the general population, the price we have to pay to fly, and listen, in fairness to the budget airlines, they give many of us opportunities to fly that never would have before, right? But it is a business model, pack them tight and what have you. And the planes are uncomfortable for everyone, but of course a particular inconvenience with a person with a particular disability, for an example. So I can't see them ceding ground unless it's legislated for. And we are part of a European Union. All countries have signed up, albeit some late to the party, to respect people's rights and what have you. So is this not what Brussels is for, to sort of say, right, you know what, we want to recognise that everyone has the right to travel as equally as possible, and we'll put the pressure on the airlines, and that's how it changes.
100%. I completely agree with you. And I think that if you cannot, for whatever reason, travel with, I'm just going to say it, the likes of Ryanair, because their legroom is quite short, reduced flights for people with reduced rates for people with disabilities should be offered with other airlines, so they can go with an airline that has greater legroom. And it's horrible, but the seats on an airplane that we all want are the exit seats, but we can't, as people with disability. I've ended up inadvertently booking them without even realizing it, or I've had a flight booked for me and I've ended up sitting there, and you kind of forget for a second, you think, oh, this is great, I'm going to have this. And then they come over. As soon as they see my crutches, I'm just
never thought about that. Yeah. Again, another, which can be quite,
Yeah, you're basically told, go sit somewhere else. You can't sit there because you have a disability. And I understand, I always look at both sides. I understand why I can't sit there, but I 100% agree with what you've just said, that this is something that putting pressure on the airlines to try and, first of all, recognize that people with disabilities have just as much right to travel and see the world as anyone else. And also people with disabilities may need to travel for work. They may have a job that requires that. And I often think that disabled people are overlooked. It's assumed we're all sitting at home, just doing nothing. And that is not the case. Most people want to live a very full and active life, but these are the kind of challenges they face everywhere they go. And with small changes, it could make a huge difference to their lives.
I mentioned in the preamble there, you are a Fine Gael general election candidate, and we have a fair idea when the election will be. It's not that far away, one way or other, and we're kind of sort of we're starting to get into the throes of it. You're talking of a different way of running a campaign, as to what a traditional campaign might be seen as. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I will be running a hybrid campaign. So obviously it's probably the clues in the name there. It'll be a mix of in person, going door to door, because that is so important and I want to meet with people, but also running different sessions online. So canvassing both online and in person. And the reason for that is simply because of my disability. I'm not physically able to knock on every door that I need to knock on in Donegal. And I had to come up with a plan B. And while I was thinking about the different ways to do this, I actually realized that by doing this, I'm able to, even though it'll help me, I'll also be able to help others with disabilities that can't travel to the various events that I would be organizing. So what we're planning on doing is having different online sessions. So for example, I'm organizing one for disability groups where it's kind of like, I'm going to leave it super simple. It's almost like an open mic night. I want to create an online evening where people with disabilities can share the issues that they're facing with me, that I do the listening and they do the talking, and they can do it from the comfort of their own home. So for people that, say if I was organizing an event in Letterkenny and you live maybe in Dunlow or somewhere and traveling is just simply not an option, you will be able to, from the comfort of your home, join in the conversation. And the same with various youth groups, women in business. There's a number of different evenings that I'm planning that will allow people to join the conversation comfortably from their home, but it will also help me. And it's, as much as it's necessary for me, I also think that it's the times that we're in, this is the way campaigns should be.
Should it be though, Nikki? I don't question for a second your motivation and the reasons why, but what we saw in the council elections, and some would say is a critical part, to the point, let's say, for instance, and I can mention Sinn Féin because their party leader referenced this recently. They've changed their strategy because of the reaction they were receiving on the doorstep. And also to obviously losing 60% of the vote they had in the previous council elections. There was a reaction to that. Is an important part of democracy, and whilst I understand your reasons, that you do have to go and knock on someone's door and face them down. It's nice, right, to have a space where you're in control, like the Zoom space, and if someone gets a bit argy or you don't like what they're saying, you can chair that. Is there not something particularly important, though? And as I say, your situation is very different. I don't know if this is the future or could be the future, because I think there's something very important, is there not, in that having the testicular fortitude or whatever fortitude it might be to knock that door and face that person and ask them for that vote.
I see your point, and I suppose I'm torn on it because we do need to start using what we have access to. Now, I don't know what way other people would run their evenings. I certainly wouldn't be. If somebody had a point to make, I wouldn't be stopping that point, because the whole point of these online evenings is that people are given their opportunity to speak. And if I don't like what they're saying, that's just my problem.
Yeah.
I will be sitting there listening. Now, I know that that's me saying that might not be the case for everybody. And I certainly see your point. I think that it's certainly a conversation that we should be having.
Yeah.
Because to use time efficiently, Donegal's an absolutely massive county. So much time is spent actually traveling in the car. That time could be spent doing online bits and pieces that are helping with the campaign. But yeah, certainly with my case, I suppose I'll be a test subject. Let's see what happens here.
Yeah.
I definitely will be knocking on doors because I want to meet people. But I'll maybe be looking at different areas that have people, certain estates, you might know that it has a slightly older population. And if they're less likely, and I'm not generalizing here, but if I feel they're less likely to have spotted an Instagram post of mine, that's an estate that I would knock on every house and have those conversations, because I want to have those conversations with those people. But because, as I said, I can't knock on them all, rather than just missing people, I want to give that opportunity that they can join me online.
It is going to be interesting, because we've 50-odd% of the population that simply don't want to engage because they don't go out and vote. And how do you reach those to try and draw them into an online space? You know what I mean? But as I say, it's the way you're going to go. I'm not saying it's the wrong way. It's just I'd be fascinated to see how it works for you. Because as I say, go ahead.
From the beginning, sorry to interrupt, but since I became a senator, one of the things that I wanted to do that I've always done before was share the journey, show a little bit of behind the scenes of politics that I'm learning as I go as well. And I honestly believe that will create a bit more interest, because the reason that a lot of people possibly don't vote, and look, some of the people I know are those people that don't vote, is because they're not interested. They feel that the issues, they don't understand them, or they just don't have an interest in them. But what everybody has an interest in is something behind the scenes. It's kind of seeing into the you know, we always love in a film watching the bloopers, watching the behind the scenes bits. That's just human nature. So if I can bring a more human element to this whole process, in my head anyway, I feel that may encourage people to listen a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, we heard today that specific to this region, the HSE's put a block on there's 100 odd people, as you'd be aware, that are waiting for extension of the home care packages. The HSE in this area specifically has put a freeze on that. So the 100 odd families that are expecting maybe additional hours or additional supports have been told you're not going to get that, and possibly not before the end of next year. There's a further 150 people just on the home care packages alone who are on a queue for home care packages. And part of the way they get those is others don't need them any longer, whether they go into hospital or indeed sadly pass away. In Dublin, the waiting list is 0. I need someone to come and knock on my door and tell me why that's not right, who's responsible, and how it's going to be fixed. That's just one example, do you know? And I think that's maybe what the people want to hear. I'm not asking you to comment on that specific, because it would be an ambush, and I'm not interested in doing that,
well,
Nikki.
I will
that's
just
not
jump
my point. But you know, that's just one story we've done today, and we do multiples every day here in the programme.
Well, to go into the bigger picture of Donegal, the reason that I'm running in the first place is to be a voice for Donegal, because to be quite honest with you, I'm sick of Donegal not getting what we need and what we deserve. And I think everybody has that feeling. You've just made that point about waiting lists in Dublin being very different to other parts of the country, and certainly up in Donegal. We had our think-in last week in Tullamore, and I shared some quite specific feelings that I had on this matter about Donegal not getting the airtime that they need. And as you mentioned, that's one point. It's a very big issue that a lot of people are being affected by, but it's just one that affects Donegal. There are so many others, and my main priority will be to try and put an end to us getting things way later than everyone else. That has to stop. It's not good enough. And quite simply, I'm not going to stand for it. And I think I'll be using, you can probably hear the annoyance in my voice, I'll be using that as my drive to push forward on these issues. You know, in the last couple of months, I've been inundated with people locally coming to me with different HSE related issues that we're one at a time trying to resolve for people. And it's, you know, again, being very honest, it can be overwhelming because you genuinely want to help, but it's also, it's eye-opening to see what is happening in our county. There's so much work that needs to be done. So I want to assure your listeners that my heart is in the right place with everything that I'm looking to do. And as I said, I really do want to be a voice for the people of Donegal.
Finally, Sandra, it's kind of become a joke question at this stage. Are you prepping for November or February?
I honestly, if you know, please tell me.
No.
Genuinely. We're all in the same boat here is what I would say there. So we're prepping for whenever it'll be.
Okay.
That's all I can say.
Thanks for that. I appreciate your time. Senator Nikki Bradley, Fine Gael general election candidate as well.
Today's 9 till noon show comes to you in association with Breedon's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville. Great offers on sofas, suites, beds and dining tables. All furniture, all this month at Breedon's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville.
For day-to-day healthcare needs, generations have trusted the experienced staff at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From coughs and colds to aches and pains, from vitamin supplements to first aid essentials. McGee's have what you need when you need it, with a full prescription service available daily. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For healthcare help and advice you can always trust.
You're useless. Worthless. I look after the money because you're a dope. You'd be nothing without me. Nobody cares about you. That's what abusers tell us. It's all lies. You deserve to be safe, and when you ask for help, you will be heard.
If you're living with domestic or sexual violence, support is always here. Visit alwayshere.ie or call an Garda Síochána.
Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
We love better value at Dunnes Stores. Save in the aisle when you mix and match any 3 for €4 on a great range of everyday favourites to get you back to your routine. Like Charleville Spreadables and Fit Foods protein pudding. Enjoy half-price multi-packs of tasty treats, like 4 packs of Kellogg's Squares and 6 packs of Cadbury Snack and Tunky Dories. Plus, you can save at the till with a 10 off 50 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used in the next grocery shop of €50 or more.
With the first half of the year out of the way and all our new cars out, at Heron Auto we have over 60 used cars in stock, and we also have cars arriving every week. So why don't you call down to us on the Killybegs Road, Donegal town, and we'll find the perfect car for you. You don't need to look far for your next new car. Visit Heron Auto, Donegal town, or see heronauto.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenny's. Support a local Donegal business with McElhenny's. From fashion to home essentials, find everything you need for any occasion. Shop McElhenny's Ballybuffet for quality you can trust.
Okay, today it might be a little cloudy in parts, though there'll be plenty of sunshine around as well. Temperature 17 to 21 degrees. Those winds have died down finally this year and should stay calm for the rest of the week, with the weather being nice. Tomorrow might be the pick of the days, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, very pleasant as well. Do you want to win a €200 voucher for Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville? Well, you can. They're our show sponsors this week. We've €200 to give away each day, and we're asking you to do a little bit of letter rearranging. The word is bleat, B-L-E-A-T, and we're looking you to jumble those words around and come up with another 5-lettered word that is a common household item. Certainly plenty that you can choose from in Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville. Once you've worked out what we're talking about, text your answer, name and address to 086 60 25,000. WhatsApp it as well if you want, and you can be within a chance to win €200 today. By law, as a sit-in takeaway, you're legally obliged to provide toilets. The same does not apply to shops. It's up to the business, indeed, of course, as well. Yeah, but if you had it as part of the planning, then they would be there. Tourism in Donegal is down because of our extortionate prices. I know a man going to Benidorm in March. Flights and accommodation all inclusive, $490 per head. Ireland is a rip-off. You won't get a hotel room for less than €180 a night. And another, I got a lovely apologetic letter from Aircom that he had taken double out of my bill and would rectify it the next day. We need to speak more positively. We need to forgive. Okay, that's very nice and good. Good that that's the case for you. Michael McClafferty, Councillor Michael McClafferty, was on to us read lights in Knockastollar. He says there's currently no funding for those lights as advised by the engineers to him. The lights are most definitely needed, but if there's no funding, they cannot be done. But as soon as funding becomes available, they will be installed, we're assured.
Today's 9 till noon show comes to you in association with Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville. Great offers on sofas, suites, beds and dining tables. All furniture, all this month at Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville.
Is minic éin éifeachtaí faibanna féchas fersanta haar chósaí airgid a siobháin. Is it rudí nach míonling ag go thuirtearthu a déitleach a bheith ina gúis lenar me. Gwyl an strosort, tein cadrad in olcus. Déitleach se mothú go bhfuil an saoigh titmas a chéile ach tá cabhair fáil. Fáir eisiir an móthir le service doch bhíonachta na hÉireann, agréad neamhsplach a chomhraíonn le faibanna féchas fersanta réiteach. Feich backandtrack.ie le takeíocht ó réaltas na hÉireann.
Ladies, are you seeking expert gynecology care? At Greenview Medical Centre in Letterkenny, we're here to help. Whether it's advanced fertility treatments, specialised pelvic floor care, or a routine gynecology examination, our expert team offers the care you need in a comfortable setting, all without the hassle of a GP referral. Book your appointment easily online at greenviewmedicalcentre.ie. Greenview Medical Centre, Riverside Retail Park, Letterkenny, a new health horizon.
Maybe thanks a lot. Hello folks, it's Robert Mazzell, stopping by to let you know that myself, the Country Kings and Noreen Rabbit, our very special guest, are heading to the Millennium Forum on the 6th of October. It's the Nashville Songbook Show. It's 50 years of great American country music all rolled into one show. If you'd like more information, go to the box office or go online. You can find the Nashville Songbook Millennium Forum the 6th of October. Check this.
This Monday, coming your way, it's another packed episode of the DL Debate. We'll round up all the GA news stories of the week and all the championship action in Donegal. My guests on the show, as ever, will include Pádraig Halferty, along with John Gilday, Oni McGarvey and Maureen O'Donnell. That's the DL Debate, your weekly GA roundup this Monday and every Monday just after 7pm news on Highland Radio and podcast at highlandradio.com.
The DL Debate with Sister Sarah's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9pm daily in Sarah's
the county's
kitchen.
#1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Okay, coming up very shortly, we will be joined by Brendan Devaney, the presenter of the DL Debate, running through the big stories of the week and the championship action in Donegal and all that, of course, plus more. But at 11 o'clock, it's time for a news update, and it's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The level of cross-border cooperation between Donegal, Derry and Tyrone has been praised by Taoiseach Simon Harris, who's making his first official visit to Derry today. At the centre of the event is his delivery of the John Hume Tip O'Neill Peace Chair Lecture at Ulster University's Magee campus. Speaking ahead of the lecture, Mr Harris said John Hume's message of reconciliation is more important now than ever before. Well, this morning the Taoiseach's in the Guildhall, where he's making a funding announcement under the Shared Island Fund of over €7.5 million for the ongoing branding collaboration between the Wild Atlantic Way and the Causeway coastal route. Part of the money will go toward funding attractions along the route that stretches from Inishowen to Cork. Sligo Leitrim South Donegal TD Marion Harkin has confirmed she will be a candidate in the next general election. Making the announcement this morning, she said she'll represent the whole constituency and said she's a special affection for Donegal since her days as an MEP. There could soon be traffic lights governing the junction of Pierce Road and Old Town Road at the Old Duns roundabout in Letterkenny as work get underway to put lights on two roundabouts on the Remelton Road. Members of Letterkenny Milford Municipal District have been told that the junction close to Old Town is being included in the priority list of schemes for low-cost safety works this year. Lights were first recommended for that junction 15 years ago. Hugh Edwards has arrived at court in London, where he'll be sentenced for accessing indecent images of children. The disgraced BBC News presenter has already admitted the charges after photos were found on his phone featuring children as young as 7. And Northern Ireland Tourism says the economic benefits of the Irish Open are said to leave a lasting legacy in the region, with golf courses in Donegal hoping they'll benefit as well. Almost 100,000 people attended the tournament at Royal County Down in Newcastle over the past week. Visiting golfers contributed over €100 million to the North's economy last year. They're the headlines. Back with headlines again at 12 noon.
Those roundabouts down at Old Duns, the flat roundabout or the other one?
It's the flat one. It's the one, as Councillor Coyle so eloquently put it, speaking to us. It's about the size of a fried goose egg.
Okay, right.
That
I know
one.
the one now.
Yeah.
All right, okay, we'll see. Right, thanks, Donald. We're going to be talking about that in a moment. Let's first take a quick break.
Disney Plus has an offer to bring you joy.
Make some noise!
For $3.99 a month for 3 months, you'll get the record-breaking hit Inside Out 2.
Let's do this.
The new season of the Emmy Award-winning The Bear.
That's how restaurants at the highest level operate.
The critically acclaimed
Only Murders in the Building.
As well as original series like Marvel Television's Agatha All Along. All for $3.99 a month for 3 months on Disney Plus. Streaming this September. Offer ends 27th September. Must be 18 plus. Auto renews at $13.99 a month.
Okay, you are very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. We're joined on the programme now by Brendan Devaney. Hi, Brendan. How are you getting on?
Yes, Greg, not too bad, sir. Getting through the Monday, thanks to you,
Good stuff, dude. All set for another DL debate this evening.
Yes, indeed. And thanks for coming fresh every Monday, Greg. I need that, yeah. I'm not too bad. You see, I don't come on the Monday evening and tend to be in good form by then,
Well, you're in better form today because your beloved St. Eunans are through.
Yes. Listen, victory over Ardra on Saturday evening, yes. The pre-quarter finals, of course, Dunlow accounting for Downings. Gweedore, a good victory over McCool's yesterday, and Four Masters beating Killybeg. So yeah, we've got the quarter-final pairings now, Greg, and I suppose for a lot of people, they've been waiting for what we call championship, the hit championship, and maybe it'll start to happen now at these quarterfinals.
Is it coming later and later every bloody season?
Yeah, listen, we spoke about this a good bit about what is championship. Championship is about, I suppose, we call it blood and guts and everything happening on the day. And when you have group phases of championships and pre-quarter finals, well, not so much pre-quarter finals, they are knockout, but the lead up to the actual getting down to it's all or nothing on the day. And I think for years, all of us, particularly from my age anyway, championship was about knockout. So I think as we've tried to marry, what teams are putting into the season, and it's unfair for them to go out in any one game, sure. But I think the old format, Greg, to be honest, of the home and away and the third game, I think, talking to people, and as I say, if you know how much football I talk, I think that format still is the best. Now, if you look across the Tyrone there's a lot made of Tyrone Championship, which is just straight knockout. And I think that's unfair because on a given day, Rick, something could go against you in a game. Whereas if you have a home venue and a home crowd, and then you have an away, so say if you beat a team at home, then they have you at home. The onus is really on them to take it to a third game, and I think that creates excitement. And then what you have is then you have time then for a break in between games where it's not week on week, which isn't really championship either. So for me, how we approach the league in terms of when county players are back in that, maybe making the finish to the league very important as pre-championship and where your standings are, using that competition to elevate the finish of the league, and then take it into a championship, which is home and away, third game, quarter-final, semi and final. Honestly, I think that is, and shorten the teams in it, maybe down to 12. I think that is would be the way forward. That would be my feeling on it.
Yeah, all right. And it seems most commentators believe your team's going to be in the pick of the ties.
Yeah. Listen, this has been happening for quite a while now. Listen, I don't think it's good for Donegal club football that a couple of teams seem to be, ahead of the rest, and you can see it in terms of, particularly, I suppose, with Niamh Connell. They're thereabouts every year, and that obviously diversifying the championship and the pool tends to work better in terms of, say, the competition as a whole, and of course producing players and keeping interest in that. But
well, just in question to that, Brendan, how do you? There's no point trying to sort of manufacture a competition whereby lesser teams, and I mean with that with no disrespect, feature in some of the final pairings. Really, you need to go back a number of stages, don't you? And we need more teams that can compete at the higher level. Because if you get two of the best teams meet and one of them's knocked out, with the best will in the world, we don't see a ton of upsets, and you can then you could probably call it at that point. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. How do we bring 6-8 teams up to a level whereby there's genuine competitive ties right down to the death?
Yeah. Do you know what? Again, going back to knockout championship and how that's played, Greg. I think for years there we had people used to say a big four, and they seemed to pull away from the rest. And then a couple of those teams seemed to drop off a small bit, and there was reasons for that around, immigration and different players retiring, and you've got of course loads of things happening. So I look at Four Masters now in particular. I suppose that the kind of standout team in Donegal that went back to their youth and really produced the conveyor belt. Now, of course, that's still to happen at senior level, but here they are. They're in the quarter-final. They had that brilliant victory over Gweedore. Now they're ending up playing Gweedore again. So, I would say with a lot of coaching in Donegal, there's a real lack of I suppose, bravery and ambition in it. And you see it even with some of the low-scoring games we've had in the last number of weeks. And I think sport is about bravery and ambition, and that's what championship's about. And I think while we're kind of caught down in the tactical side of it, it's affecting many things in our game and really people's interest in it as well. So there's a lot going on there, Greg. I think
I think sometimes you feel you get a sense that teams go in trying to dictate the extent of the defeat rather than I think fans, and you see this in all sports, and this is a problem with the Irish soccer team at the moment. Fans will back you if they believe that you go out and try and play a certain type of football and try and win, even if they know you can't win. That's the glory of sport here. Like it's almost like going into a game of chess, knowing you're going to lose, but you want to keep as many of your pawns on the chessboard as possible by the time that you're in checkmate.
Yeah, listen, Greg, it's a difficult balancing act because obviously teams want to stay in games and want to be competitive, but then how much do you give away the fact that you're going to lose a game, say, by 20 points to 16 rather than 10-8? This is the problem in these games. And what it does, it kind of kills the game and it kills the skills in the games as well. And listen, Rick, this isn't a problem everywhere. I mean, I look across, so I'll give you a quick example there. Ballyhayes come up from intermediate in Cavan, and they beat the back-to-back senior championships going in their first game in championship. So, they scored 3-9 in the game. So this doesn't happen everywhere. It just seems to be something that's really, really entrenched in Donegal at the minute. As I say, the only thing for me that will quick fix it is the rule changes coming down the line, because without that, we're in for a game that is very much defense.
But the fundamental problem is it doesn't matter how you play, whether you play attacking or you play defensive, or if you change the rules. the better teams are going to be better at whatever you introduce, unless you have some sort of a handicap system, which obviously I'm not proposing that for a second. So the clubs need to figure out how they build their teams for the futures to try and compete against the big team. I mean, if you're a smaller team, right, and you want to take on St. Eunan's in the defensive game, St. Eunan's will beat you in the defensive game. If you want to take them on in an attacking game, they'll beat you on in the attacking game. So you might as well play better football and work on how you can beat them in a more attractive way. So Niamh Connell, St. Eunan's, Dunloe, Glen Swilly, who do you think might emerge out of that?
Yeah, listen, Glen Swilly are flying. You know, what a season they've had so far. You know, they've been brilliant. Like, you would have to say, right, that they're going to be favourites of that. Dunloe just edged out Downlands 1-7 points. And Dunloe playing great football themselves, you know, physical team, really improving. Listen, I've seen them play the last couple of seasons as well, but you would have to say just on form there that Glen Swilly are favourites in that. No more than, even though Four Masters beat Goodor's performance at the weekend was probably one of the maybe standout ones. The way that they dealt with McCool's, you know, that was a game that a lot of people thought, listen, Goodor were favourites, but really to won by double scores was a bit of a statement from them, you know. And Kilcar, St. Michael's, of course, a big talk about, obviously Langan's going to be missing for their main man for St. Michael's at County Star. So listen, Kilcar, Goodor and Glen Swilly certainly on paper would be favourites in those three games. And then St. Eunan's, Niamh Connell, good luck with calling that one, Greg.
No, you call it.
I'll sit in the fence with that one.
You haven't figured out how to beat Niamh Connell yet, have you?
Come here. Hey, Greg, listen, just what you mentioned there, you're 100% right around, listen, how you play the game, right? There obviously has to be winners and losers. Teams are going to be stronger teams. But, you know, that's what I'm talking about, like bravery and ambition. Sport and championship is based on that. So, you know, you have to have a cut and have a goal. You can still be defensive, Greg. You can still put in sweepers. But if you're dropping your full defence in, I think that's where we hit the problem around with the spectacle of the game, you know?
It's like boxing. Got up in the middle of the night to watch Canelo Alvarez box Saturday night, Sunday morning. And unfortunately, it's got to the point now where the success, the measure, that a fighter almost measures the success against him as to how long they can last. So a victory is lasting 12 rounds, even though you lose a unanimous points decision. It's across many different sports. So what happens is you have an opponent that goes in there and is quite regressive or defensive and what have you. So it's not unique to our game, but it's just, we'd love to see it change. Anyway, there's so much more to talk about because it's not just the seniors, of course. It runs down intermediates and what have you. You've got a great panel of guests, as you always do. You've got Pádraig Hilferty, John Gulday, Oni McGarvey, Maureen O'Donnell's in there as well. So it's a cracking show as always after 7 o'clock, and all topics will be touched on, I'm sure, Brendan.
Yeah, indeed. Listen, as you said there, semi-finals in the intermediate and the junior championship, of course, ladies championship as well is cracking along. That Maureen's going to be on to round that up. I just want to mention Francie Martin and the Donegal Masters. They had an All-Ireland victory at the weekend up in Cavan. So Francie Martin's going to come on the show as well, just to give us the breakdown on that. They beat London in the Masters there, so and the Masters Plate at Breffni Park. So listen, phenomenal weekend for them guys. So he'll be on the show as well.
And those boys all fit some of those Masters.
There's no beer bellies at us there, Greg.
See, that's not really fair because, you know, you don't have a tank and I do, so really, you know, you're being an AH there, but we love you and let you away with it. All right, come here, Bren. Enjoy the show tonight. Take care of yourself, Brendan Devaney. That show live just after 7 o'clock. You can podcast it very shortly after to listen to at your leisure as well. Always a pleasure to talk to Brendan. All right, any insights into the football you watched at the weekend or what you're expecting for the future? We love it. This is a magazine show, so we talk about everything here. I'm not asking Greg about purchases since the MICA issue. I'm asking about those who bought previous to the MICA certification being compulsory. I get you. Okay. And if you just it's like me and you could have a private conversation about this over text. I'm just wondering in that context then, just send me one more text as to, because I want to understand it, I'm not disputing it or dismissing it, then how the intermediate's role and responsibility there. A caller says you get what you pay for airlines. You need to pay extra to be escorted onto the plane or use the walkway. The walkway is used by premium airlines. Indeed, but even though you pay extra for the services you talk about, whether you have a disability or not, rules of the world are is that everyone should sort of have equal access to. You shouldn't have to pay extra because you need extra assistance or you have a disability. No. A caller says, I often wonder why airlines allow passengers to stow carry-on luggage under the seat when the life jacket is kept there. Is this not a safety issue? I've also found that it would actually be impossible to access the life jacket given the very limited room between the seats. You can't bend down far enough to reach under the seat. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. You're right in what you're saying. They can be in different places, though. On an airplane, I don't know if it comes to life jackets. I think I don't know how often they might be used. Hi, Greg. I've often heard this regarding home care from aunts who were doing home help back then, it was called, and they had a manager then too. Now it's just an office to dish out more customers. But was asked to do private work after they retired after hearing stories of HC staff not turning up. I'm not surprised that the HSE are doing this, as when it went privatised, it seemed to maximise the most patients, but spend a third of the time, and elderly are not going to complain for fearing of losing the service, which you hear quite often, unfortunately. No doubt they're overwhelmed and can't cope, and then the relief don't show up to give them tablets. Maybe more will text in regarding this closer to home. I don't know whether it's public or private or what the balance is. All I know is there's a greater use of private services in Dublin, and there's zero people waiting for home care packages or extra home care support. So that's really quite concerning, I think. I have to take a very short break. Then we're going to talk about traffic lights and traffic movement in and around Letterkenny.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Today's 9 till Noon Show comes to you in association with Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville. Great offers on sofas, suites, beds and dining tables. All furniture, all this month at Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville.
The Irish Coast Guard is recruiting watch officers for its rescue coordination centres in Valentia, Malin Head and Dublin.
Mayday relay. Mayday relay.
It's our job to coordinate life-saving missions for swimmers, seafarers and anyone else who needs our help.
Copy that, Rescue 115. Position confirmed. Proceed with rescue.
Watch officers stay calm under pressure. We have to. It's how we save lives. Apply today at publicjobs.ie.
Keep out the cold, and ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
Looking to refresh your bathroom? Need new tiles? Wondering where to find the largest bathroom, plumbing and tile showroom in Donegal? Look no further. McDade's Bathroom, Plumbing and Tiles in Buncrana has everything you need. Explore our extensive selection for your bathroom, ensuite and plumbing needs. Visit our state-of-the-art 40 Plus fully furnished tiled showroom in Cockhill, Buncrana and see how we can transform your space. If you're going to do it right. Do it with McDade's. Call us at 07493 63050 for more details.
We love Irish music and the artists that make it. That's why, as part of Irish Music Month, we're putting Irish music first. Profiling, supporting, encouraging and promoting Irish artists. More song plays, more chats, more mentions and more money in Irish music creators' pockets. Over €100,000 in total. It's all about recognising the importance and value Irish music has for all of us. Irish Music Month. Irish Radio supporting Irish artists. With IBI and Hot Press, supported by Commission Demands Sound and Vision Scheme, funded by the television licence fee.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
Well, the time now is just 19 minutes past 11, and we're joined on the programme now by Laura. Hi, Laura.
Hello, Greg. How are you?
I'm good. Right, a couple of things. Well, it's really about traffic lights in various parts of Letterkenny. We'll start with the Polestar roundabout. Right. What's your views on those traffic lights?
That's right. That's the biggest issue I find in the town. There's people that sitting there for half an hour, 40 minutes to get from before Arena 7 to the Polestar roundabout. This is each day. Mm-hmm. You know, it's an absolute disgrace. These lights were out of action last week for a few days, and the town was flowing so much better.
Even in the remote road?
It's right up now, I'll tell you now, it's right up now to Tara Court. Mm-hmm. That's where you hit the traffic there, and that's it. It's standstill. Like, I'm a bus driver, right? And I've been in cities, Dublin, Cork, Galway, you name it, and that's not this issue, like.
Yeah.
You know, it's not sitting standstill, not moving at all. It's an absolute disgrace. And anybody that thinks that it's flowing better with them is just crazy. Like, maybe certain parts of the town is, but that part is not. I mean, it's each day. I'm sitting there each day, you know what I mean?
And there's new traffic lights being worked on now a little further up the Ramelton Road. There's names
That's
on
right.
all these roundabouts.
Yeah,
I don't know
and
what
I've
it's called.
no idea what's going to happen there or what the outcome of that's going to be.
How does that speed up traffic towards the Polestar, I wonder? Because you have traffic coming in from Melton and down the Business Park Road. I don't see how that eases
it's
traffic.
going to be of no benefit at all. I think maybe they should have really put in a temporary system, maybe with the lights, to see for a week or two and see if it was going to help. And I can guarantee you it's not, like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, instead of just planting them in, spending money planting them in, and then it's too late then, they're there.
The argument is
Put them in for a few weeks, see how they go.
The argument is made, Laura, that listen, it's not necessarily about getting more cars through the roundabout. It's that if you're on certain roads, you know you're going to get through, right? That you're that's what lights do, because you can't reduce the cars, right? You just make sure they all get through at some point or other. As a professional driver, does that make sense to you?
It makes sense totally, but I mean, there's no sense to sitting at a junction for 40 minutes without moving. You know, you could move 100 metres like this. It's crazy, you know, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
And
There's
then,
lights going on the two roundabouts on the Ramelton Road, and you're of the view again. You're of the view this will not help.
In my opinion, I do not think so. You know, maybe they need to sit back and assess the situation. And you ask any person in Letterkenny, when them lights were out for the few days, how did traffic flow?
Mm-hmm.
And I can guarantee you they'll all tell you, like, it was great without them.
Right, okay.
You know, take a good hard look at themselves.
Yeah, I think it's difficult maybe to put your hands up and say that. I mean, here's another question. Rather than getting rid of them, wouldn't it be interesting to maybe use them at certain times to see how that works? Rather than having them on all the time?
Yeah, and see if it flows any better. Like, there's something needs to be done. Like, there's no way it can continue like this, because the town's only going to get bigger, but it's also affecting certain businesses in the town. You know, people don't want to go into the town if they're going to be sitting in traffic like that.
The thing, you see, Laura, this is the thing that perplexes me a little bit about this. I don't hear that from the businesses. You know, the businesses on the main street, the businesses in the business park, up at in and around the Tesco and all that. Like, you don't hear businesses saying something needs to be done with the traffic because we're at the pin of our collar here.
Everybody's just accepting it. They're sitting back and accepting it.
Okay.
You know, they're just not even bothered about it. Like, you know. But I find myself, like, I just don't know when it's going to end. Just keep putting traffic lights in and keep slowing everybody off.
Have you any view on the proposal for traffic lights at Old Duns there?
At the Old Duns, I'd say yes, something needs to be done there. It is quite a dangerous junction. But the main thing is, you know, people's coming onto that there small roundabout, and they're cutting, cutting across the middle of it. And that's the biggest thing. Like, they're not using it as a roundabout. Mm-hmm. They're just cutting across, and then it is quite dangerous. And maybe they could benefit from lights there.
Yeah.
But the reason is that roundabout has got so busy since the Polestar, because people are going out to there to go out, you know, to avoid the Polestar.
Going out Old Town.
Yeah, they're going up that way, you know. And that then is adding the flow of traffic to that area, you know.
And those roundabouts as well, they kind of come across as optional. It's kind of interesting because, well, for those watching the show, Laura, I've got Google Street View up so we know where we're talking about, right? And there's there's a Audi that's literally sitting on the fried egg in the middle of the road.
Yeah,
just sitting on
that's
just
the thing,
by pure coincidence,
like,
you know.
Yeah. Just as you say, like, that's just cutting it off, and then, you know, it's hard for anybody to get away then, you know.
All right, Laura, listen, we'll throw it out to the great public as well to see what they think about the Polestar roundabout since the traffic lights were off. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Greg.
Right, so if did you use the Polestar roundabout while the lights were off? Are you from around Letterkenny particularly, I think? Because if you're from outside Letterkenny, your in and out experience varies depending on the time and all that kind of stuff. But the people in and around Letterkenny will know the know, right? So, did the traffic lights being off at the Polestar work to an advantage or disadvantage, in your view? And also throwing that out to the business community, are you content with the traffic management at the moment? Because, as I say, maybe the business community don't want to speak up, because if they're talking about traffic issues, then that might deter people coming in. Maybe that's what's happening. I don't know. But I want to I don't want to amplify a problem that's not there, but I don't want to ignore a problem that's there either, if you understand. A caller says, let's stop wasting time and money and get on with building of the bridge. I think everyone wants that, but listen, it's on the long finger at this time. And I think really we do need to talk about interim measures, because the reality is it's going to be a long time for any of us driving on that bridge. I totally agree with Laura. Far too many senseless traffic lights. At least roundabouts keep the traffic moving. Okay, that's one point of view there. A caller says, I think there's no call for half of the traffic lights in Letterkenny. It's like the bike shed in the Dáil. They're only erected because someone knows someone. They make traffic worse, not to help. Well, then who to the advantage? I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong, but I wonder who the advantage if someone's calling in a favour or what have you. Let me see. Hi, Greg. It has just occurred to me regarding the Sinn Féin housing plan, where they suggest the government pays for the services and keep the sites and the person owns the house. In circumstances where the services for a house, i.e. the sewage pipe and electrical lines, have to cross the land of another individual's property, a legal document called a way leave is required. This is a legal document whereby the owner of the land which the house sewage pipe crosses gives an undertaking to never interfere with the pipe. The question raised is, under Sinn Féin's plan, does the government give the homeowner a way leave, or does it retain the right to interfere with the services to the home? It could lead to a potential Big Brother type situation for future governments if a way leave is not in place, whereby services could be removed by the state to a house. Okay, that's an interesting point. Interesting. I mean, it's not only also that the state would retain ownership of the land. You would only be able to sell your house under this proposal for a certain price to certain individuals as well. So it is ownership, but some would see it as a not quite the same as home ownership. Traffic flowed better when the Polestar lights were not working, believes a listener. Another, Letterkenny won't need Christmas lights this year with all the traffic lights that are there. I've no idea who's coming up with the idea of just keep putting up traffic lights. It's disgraceful. I'm on the Ramelton side of Letterkenny and I very rarely get straight through. Once I turn the corner at the Glebe, the line of traffic's in front of me. Doesn't matter who I talk to, the first topic is traffic. Did you come in that Ramelton Road when the traffic lights were out, and did it improve the situation? Let me know. 086 60 25,000.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Today's 9 till noon show comes to you in association with Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville. Great offers on sofas, suites, beds and dining tables. All furniture, all this month at Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville.
There are silent conversations that happen on our roads every day, between drivers and older pedestrians like me, when we catch each other's eye to say, "Do you see me?" or "I'm crossing." But when people don't look out for each other, those connections can be missed. And so can I.
Too many older pedestrians are being killed on our roads. When we look out for each other,
we keep each other safe.
Please look out for older pedestrians. From the Road Safety Authority, visit rsa.ie.
The thing about hearing difficulties is you can still get the rough gist of most conversations. You know, just about. You might miss some great jokes. The one about the rabbit and the scarf. Like that one. But you'll get a vague idea. And that's okay, isn't it? Not for us, it's not. At Specsavers, we think okay hearing isn't okay. So book a free hearing check with one of our hearing experts today and be part of the conversation. Specsavers. Okay hearing is not okay.
It's colourless, it's odorless, it's hard to detect. So carbon monoxide deserves your respect. It can kill you stone dead in just 3 minutes flat. And if you don't believe me, ask me dear Uncle Pat. Tagging you. Coal, tar, gas, even wood, any fuel can harm. So get yourself a carbon monoxide alarm, or you might just wake up dead.
Printing. At BizPrint, they take care of it all. Great quality, low prices, and a fast turnaround. Call today on 9177 955 or visit bizprint.ie.
If you're looking for a competitive insurance quote, contact Hickey Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers in Letterkenny. Home, car or van insurance, farm, commercial or public liability insurance. They compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Call Hickey Clark and Langan on 9126688 or call into the office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Now it's on to our Monday focus, and we look at the increased love of the Gaelic language. Molly Nick Keeley joins us now. Good morning, Molly.
Good morning.
Thank you very much indeed. And I phrased it right as a increased love of the language. Is it an increased love?
I believe so.
Certainly for you.
Yeah, it's been growing since a very young age. But there's been ups and downs as well. But I think absolutely what I'm seeing is just kind of the presence, stronger presence of Irish in the media. And I think it's because there's more opportunities for that with social media. But then, of course, we're seeing in music with Kneecap. And then, you know, like last year we had in Cullincuin, that was a huge movie. So it's just great to see the presence of Irish.
And do you think that's probably more impactful and more influential than maybe, official measures, if that makes sense? You know what I mean? If you get, some, high traffic TikTok channels, or the likes of Kneecap and others, that probably is cooler, if that makes sense.
I think that it's great for people to see Irish outside of school and outside of the Gaeltacht, and just to feel like it's just like English. You know, a lot of people say like English is, the language of media or global language in a sense. But when we're seeing Irish in the same places, I think it's making it cooler, a lot of people are saying, but also just more visible, and just people are seeing that they can use it outside the classroom and that they should and they want to. So I think that's really exciting. And I'm actually, I've been traveling a lot, and I've heard a few people speaking Irish. A few people have come and spoke Irish to me, so it's great. It's there. And I think what's really important now is just the visibility of the language, or even, I suppose, you hear a language, but both,
I know what you're on about. And we get quite excited, don't we? Because we saw, when Paul Mescal was interviewed in Irish, everyone got really excited about that. So that means we're proud of the language, and we're proud to see it platformed on an international level. And as well as that, and it's part of our culture, and it's not necessarily the language, when Sky started showing Gaelic games, or when the BBC showed the All-Ireland final or the hurling final as well, people were generally excited as to how excited people outside Ireland got about the sports. So that talks to a pride we have in our culture and our language being exposed, not just within Ireland, but beyond our shores.
Yes, exactly. And I think that awareness, or people, think of the people who might have watched the Oscars and seen, the first Irish language film there and had no awareness of the Irish language. Many people wouldn't have, because often when you go outside of Ireland and you say you speak Irish, people think, oh, you mean the Irish accent? That's what I've heard of. But don't they speak English in Ireland? Are you talking about the accent? And then it's a chance to tell them about the language. But these things are very helpful, because it is just kind of raising awareness, and then I suppose it's helping us with our pride in our own language and culture. So it's just...
I'm kind of sick and tired of people who have no interest in something but feel their opinion matters in it, right? So detractors of the Irish language that say it's useless, it's a dead language, no one uses it, right? If that's your view, wind your neck in and talk about something else you're interested in, and then allow other people who have a love of it to try and promote that and see if they can change that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've this awful habit nowadays of commenting on things that we don't like or are not relevant to us. Just keep your nose out of it. If you don't care, that's fine.
Yeah.
Not caring is not an opinion.
No, you're
not
right.
Not caring is be quiet.
Yeah.
And I have to apply those same rules to myself, by the way. I'm not being...
Oh, yeah, I think we're all guilty of that sometimes, but I think Irish has definitely gotten a lot of that over the years. And that negativity, it's, it impacts people without them realising. And I touch on that in a few chapters in my book, kind of challenging a few of those like myths. I see them as Irish is backwards, or Irish doesn't make sense. These things, and just challenging those things, and kind of debunking those myths. I like to think of it as that. But that negativity, it's very discouraging for people who would like to have more Irish in their life.
Not caring is not an opinion. Find something you care about and opine about that. Yeah. And obviously you're coming at from your angle, and then we had the controversy. Recently of the book, the school book, which depicted Irish people, the traditional Irish family, in a certain way. We have to make sure that we are encouraging the celebration. We haven't figured out in this country yet without how to be Irish, celebrate our culture, be happy about it, have our history, and celebrate it without worrying about how we offend other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is a hangover. I believe this is a hangover from British rule in this country. And that's not being political, right? Whereby we have been browbeaten into being afraid to offend people by celebrating our culture.
And I think as well, almost, I think it's called like post-colonial mindset. That's what it's called. A lot of people are talking about that online now. And it's almost as if kind of over the years that we almost believe that we should do the same thing about our own language and culture, kind of make fun of it or just disregard it in a sense. But I think that deep down, most people do want to have a bit of the language. And I think for a lot of people, it can come from kind of a place of shame that they don't have it. And then it's much easier, rather than saying, oh, I'm going to try to learn it, or I'm trying to learn it. It's easier to just say, oh, well, it's useless, or, disregard it, because then it seems like they're making the right decision.
Molly, there used to be a thing whereby people would say, well, I tried it, but then I was chatting to a Gaeilgeoir and they were correcting my grammar and then I was embarrassed. And I think we're past that, are we?
I don't know. I think what I'm seeing now is people kind of realizing it is okay to make mistakes in that. Unfortunately, a lot of people will tell me they have a negative experience with somebody where they've corrected them, and that can really impact them, unfortunately. But I also think that there are so many people out there willing to help.
Yeah.
And, where mistakes don't matter, because most of the time, if you make a grammar mistake, you're understood. And the reason why the person's able to correct you is because they understood what you were trying to say.
Yeah.
And if you do encounter people like that who are more interested in correcting you than having a conversation, you don't need to talk to those people, really.
Yeah, true. And you know what? People will have attitudes in many different languages. You know what I mean? Just because you speak Irish, it does not mean all of a sudden you're going to be this ambassador for the language and a terribly nice person. Most are, right? But it's not a guarantee. So you're going to meet bad people no matter what their background is. Right, so let's get to the book itself, actually, because I think it's anyone who produces a book, I think it's a remarkable achievement, because it starts with an idea or an inception, and then you have to move it. And so talk to me about the book. When did you feel there was a gap in the market, and what were you trying to achieve with it?
So, for a few years, I spent a few years making videos on YouTube, Instagram. I still do that. It is my passion. But I'd say if I was making the videos a few years, and then a few years ago, I thought that it would be really nice to write a book. And I think that kind of what I can offer in a book is, in my videos, I'd like to share the language with people, make it more accessible. And then I do touch on kind of the issues, the challenges that we struggle with from time to time in my videos. But with a book, I can develop that. I can write more about that. I can kind of share more experiences with people, and just kind of my words of encouragement, and just kind of everything I want to tell anyone who would like to have some Irish in their lives.
So is this book to light that spark in someone, or can they learn some phrases and words through the process of reading the book?
Both. Yeah. So, the main aim is I talk about the challenges that we face in that. So it is definitely going to be most helpful for people who have felt discouraged, or they've felt embarrassed, or they kind of, they don't know where to go with the language next, what to do. It's kind of to light that spark again, as you said, because I really do believe that, it's called Gaelic in my heart, Irish in my heart. And I believe that most people do have a piece of it in their heart, or, just in them, and that they'd they'd like more. I think most people I talk to, that's how they feel. But you can as well, as you go along, there are loads of phrases. You know, a friend of mine who's very fluent, she was saying, oh, I'm actually learning loads. Like, these are great phrases as well. So bit of everything. Try to do a bit of everything.
And it's to build on the social media reach as well. Because, you know, I know with the stuff that we do, the stuff I do privately, you know, views and likes and shares are one metric. They are what they are, right? Like, there's hundreds of people watching on Twitter at the moment. I think Elon's boosting the living daylights out of that, right? But anyway, that's fine. I'll take it, Elon. But my point is that, you know, like, this is more tangible then too, isn't it? In terms of how you read. I think if someone picks something up and opens it, you're engaging with them on a less superficial level, and it's more tangible, right? I think there is that in it. So how do you go about, I mean, getting the book out? Is this self-published, or is it through a company? And I suppose maybe your popularity on social media was helped in, you know, getting it out there too.
Yes. So the publisher is Hachette. And so what's great about it is that the publisher is learning Irish, and she watched my videos to help her learn Irish. And she could see the Gaeilge Mochrie.
Well, that's a perfect person to work with, isn't it? Because they're sharing your passion.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why it just felt so right when, you know, she approached me and she had Irish, and she was, you know, wanting to get back into it, and just kind of saw what my videos were about and kind of the message I had. And it was we had a great relationship then because of that, because she was genuinely passionate about Irish and what I was writing about and what I wanted to say.
Yeah, brilliant. Now, we speak to lots of people who work very hard through official channels to try and increase the use of the language, and they get it too. And I love it. It can literally just be the greeting, or it can be the thank you, or whatever it might be. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily about being able to write a 2,000 euro poem as Gaeilge, right? So it's just about it being a living, breathing, working language. I know a lot of good work is happening in that regard with some great people. But in terms of the sort of the broader national ecosystem, how we teach the language, I think that's an area that we're really going to have to work on about what our focus is on. And I've seen it myself, and I've seen it with my children. Some of them is you learn stuff and then you write it down. You learn how to have a conversation, and you get through that 20 minutes and then you move on, right? So we're not really tooling your average person. There's always people that pick things up and want to progress with it. We're not really tooling people up to go into the world with language with them, the language with them. Am I wrong in that? Do we need to change that approach?
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. And I think when I look back, even though I always enjoyed learning Irish, in the sense that when I learned like the word for something in Irish, it often did interest me, and I'd often prefer the word or prefer the phrase. But when I look back on my last year of school especially, so much crammed in, there's way too much on the curriculum, and as you said, it's like there's so much that you don't have the time to kind of like learn it, you know, to understand it, learn it, and then not have to worry about memorizing it and just writing it all back down again. So I think that the main thing that people would like out of Irish is just to be able to leave school and to be confident enough to just use a bit of conversational Irish. I think that's the
and I'm not phrasing this possibly correctly, but like I think we need to look at other subjects as almost like inanimate objects, hugely important and useful. But we need to look at languages as a sort of a living, breathing thing.
Yes, exactly.
Not some sort of just inanimate object.
Yes, because Irish is a living language, even though one of the most common things that people will negatively say about it is it's a dead language, or it's a dead language, and it's not. It's absolutely.
How big is the issue of different dialects across the country in terms of sort of, I wonder how big a barrier is that in progress that we try and make?
Well, I do touch on that in my book as well, because it's something that I like to help people with, because I know myself when at school, but then when I left school, that was kind of, and you know, for a few years I wasn't really, I had a bit of Irish in my life, but then when I kind of started to get back into it, and that was the main thing, was the dialect differences. It can be very different. You have a totally different word sometimes in Donegal compared to Kerry, And Donegal Irish gets a terrible rep because everybody, I don't like Donegal Irish because they don't understand it, which is fair enough. I understand where that comes from, because if you feel like you know Irish and then you hear a different dialect and you don't understand it, you're not likely, you're annoyed by that. So I think that is a big challenge. But what I would say is just don't worry about that too much in the beginning. Just kind of get to grips with Irish if you are learning a certain dialect, or even just, a mixture standard. And I think over time I've seen people just grasp the dialects and see it as something kind of, it's exciting. It's interesting that there are different words for things. If you go to Kerry,
I
they're
see
going to
what
say
you're doing
things.
there. A bit of PR, spinning it positively. A caller says Greg Irish not much good in Main Street of Letterkenny, which I believe that to be I believe that to be a comment about immigration. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, let me know. See, it's very easy to talk about threats to culture and all this type of stuff, but very few of those that are talking about our culture actually can speak Irish, right? Our culture is, you celebrate it, you be proud of it, you use it, you exercise it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how Irish and Irishness and Irish culture is saved or has a home.
Mm-hmm.
Not sitting in your house with the curtains drawn, afraid of someone coming in and taking it from you. You know what I mean? Like, if you're proud of Irish culture, celebrate it, use the language, use a couple of focal, I've got to swear there. I'm so paranoid, right? I've never swearing on air. I believe I got halfway there.
Well, that one's close,
No, but it was just in that split second, right? Okay, but you know what I mean. There's no shame in that game, right? Where can people get the book and sort of share your passion, I suppose, or maybe have their passion sparked?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is widely available, in Eason, or I believe here in Letterkenny. It's bookmark now, and you can order online, like Dubray, Kenny's, O'Mahony's, most main bookstores.
All right, Molly, congratulations, well done, really appreciate it. And you can check out Molly on social media as well. I presume you took a place in the TikTok verse as well, did you?
I don't have TikTok.
Do you not?
I don't. I have not succumbed to TikTok yet.
You haven't reached a huge audience. All right, well, you have to. You can check her out on Facebook and Instagram in a way. Molly, it's been lovely having you in. Thank you so very much indeed. We'll be back with more after the break.
Today's 9 till noon show comes to you in association with Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville. Great offers on sofas, suites, beds and dining tables. All furniture, all this month at Breeden's House to Home, Bridgend and Moville.
Are you ready to flip, tumble and soar over to Michael Murphy Sports to get your hands on the Kidsnastics Gym Range? The ultimate gift for the young gymnast in your family. Whether they're just starting or perfecting their routine, Kidsnastics has everything from wedge mats to balance beams in a range of vibrant colours and styles. See michaelmurphysports.ie.
Discover Centra's Simple Savers, your go-to for great everyday value. Like Yoplait Petit Flou Big Pots 4-pack €1 each. Selected freshly prepared meals, any 2 for €8. And Torres Vignasol, only €8. Enjoy easy, simple prices weekly on your favourite products. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Starting to think about what's next? Then don't miss Ulster University's Open Days this September. With campuses in Derry, Londonderry, Coleraine and Belfast, find out where a degree from Ulster could take you. Ulster University gives you a fantastic student experience, focused on your future career. That's why we were voted #1 in the UK for best universities in this year's Student Crowd Awards. Register now at ulster.ac.uk/open days.
Step out of the ordinary and into the new Lexus LBX, because this is the luxury compact SUV reimagined in every detail, where style, elegance and innovation define a new kind of driving experience. It's your world. Make it extraordinary. Experience the new LBX Hybrid at your Lexus retailer, available with a range of flexible payment options. Lexus. Experience amazing.
Your local dealer is Lexus Letterkenny. Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenny's. With over 50 years of serving the community in Donegal, McElhenny's is proud to be part of every moment, big and small. Support local, shop McElhenny's Bally Buffet.
Rightio. Today will be nice. There's a mix of cloud and sunshine. Temperature 17 to 21 degrees. Winds light. Tomorrow, improving sunshine. Temperatures 20 to 22 degrees. Light to moderate east to southeast winds. And that's going to be the theme throughout the course of the week. Okay, would you like to speak with confidence before you are a leader? Success is about growing yourself, I'm told. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others. Toastmasters will develop both personal growth and leadership, and you're being invited to come along and join your voice and to help hammer home that message. Brian Marshall, Chair of the Talk Club Toastmasters Letterkenny, good morning.
Good morning,
Thank
Greg.
you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm Grant, thank you.
Excellent. Jeremy Worth, PRO of Talk Club Toastmasters Letterkenny, also with us. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
So, the next meeting is tomorrow night, isn't it? The 17th of September. It's at Letterkenny Community Centre at 7:15. Jeremy, I'll start with you. Who's invited?
Well, everybody. It's an open club, and we always invite guests who've never maybe tried Toastmasters before to join us. But we do have a membership as well, which currently stands at about 25 members. We meet every 2 weeks, and every day is different. There's always something for everybody, and I have to say there's a lot of fun involved as well. It's an enjoyable thing, but yes, your introduction was right. It's about personal development.
Is there an ethos within it that what is the Toastmasters?
Well, it's an international organisation. It's in pretty much every country. It's one of those things that people come to for various reasons. The number one reason will probably be because of fear of public speaking. Some people would rather have almost anything you can imagine happen to them rather than stand up in public and speak. So it's one of those things that helps people get over that fear, but it's also about personal development. So even if you're not fearful of speaking, if you want to improve your communication skills, Toastmasters is an excellent way of doing that.
Yes, and Brian, I believe people can speak with great confidence in certain environments. But then when the public speaking comes, then that can be a very different space.
Of course, because whenever you are confronted by your peers, that's one challenge. Whenever you're confronted by an audience of complete strangers, it's a completely different challenge. And you might feel comfortable talking in front of people you know, which is the sort of atmosphere that Toastmasters tries to promote your speaking improvement in, and then prepare you for that. I am going to talk in front of strangers. And the talking in front of strangers could be large groups, or it could be something as simple as a one-to-one job interview.
And then people will use avoidance. Someone might be asked to be someone's best man and decline it. And I would know of this. They've declined it simply because they cannot face the best man's speech.
It's quite
one example.
One example, of course. The one that nobody really is prepared for is if you have to give a narration at a funeral.
Yeah, or a reading. Yeah,
yes.
Which is a narration, of course.
Yeah, but that's something whenever you have to stand up and prepare a structured speech. This is something that we help you to do. It's to get you to prepare and be ready with a structure to what you're going to say.
Yeah, and it's how you do it too, Jeremy, because a lot of time people's experience of reading aloud would be from a book. So you could right? You know what I mean? Which often may not sound natural too. So it's not just maybe getting through the fear factor. For some, it might be how you deliver publicly and how you speak.
Well, every meeting is split into two. There's the prepared speeches at the start of the meeting, which are exactly what you say, and we get feedback to improve that, so it becomes more natural to you. But the second part of the meeting, we have what's called table topics, where a topics master will challenge people to speak something spontaneously, where you're ad-libbing and making it up on the spot. And this can be great fun, but yes, it's a challenging situation. You're being asked to stand up and speak unprepared, and that gives you great flexibility.
But it's a controlled environment, isn't it, you see? So
it's a very safe environment.
You're facing your perhaps fear of public speaking because you're doing it, but there is a safety net there as well.
There is, and it's a very safe space. So when you stand up and if it doesn't happen for you, it doesn't matter. And all of the people in the room understand exactly what it is because they feel the same way. But it can also be very humorous and great fun, and it can cover several, interesting subjects in any one meeting.
And public speaking, I don't believe it's ever easy. And I think if it's ever easy, you're not doing it right or something. Do you know what I mean, Brian? Like public speak. Everyone should have nerves, whatever they do. I still get nervous every day coming in to do this show, and I think that's good. It's how you use those nerves. It's whether that sort of empowers you, or you're, it's not quite fight or flight, but you know what I mean. It's in that space. So I think feeling nervous is a positive thing.
Overcoming the nerves is what Toastmasters can help you to do. Preparation and the very fact that you have spoken in front of your peers, and to you, those people were strangers whenever you started out as a member of the club. Whenever you conquer that, you are ready to speak in front of almost everybody. Mm-hmm. And I know I actually reached the All-Ireland finals last year of 2 competitions. And one of those was the Table Topics competition, where I was given a subject and told, you now have 2 minutes to speak on that subject, having had 10 seconds notice.
Yes, but are you a good speaker or a good bluffer?
You learn to be both.
There's tools.
If you don't know, you fake it until you make it.
Exactly.
But half of being a good and confident speaker is doing the background preparation and having a structure, knowing the structure to what you're going to say.
And it makes an awful lot of sense. And it's like writing a news script. It's easy once you realise how it's structured and what you have to fit into those structures. Do you know what I mean? It comes to you. Okay, so you have moved home recently, Jeremy, am I right in saying that?
Yes, we're in a new facility, to us anyway, and it's in the Letterkenny Community Centre, which has lots of parking. It's quite a big facility, so there's plenty of room for anybody that wants to come and try Toastmasters with us. We've only had one meeting there, but it went very well.
Loads of parking.
So we'd like to extend that invitation to anybody that would be interested in even just come and try it and come and meet us. You'll be received very, very with a huge welcome, and you might even enjoy it, and it'll definitely improve your skills. Some people come and they come for 1 year and then stop, and then some people come for 10 years. There's some people that tries once and they have a nice time, but they don't come back. But that's fine.
Brian Marshall, Chair of Talk Club Toastmasters Letterkenny, thank you. Jeremy Worth, PRO of Talk Club Toastmasters, thank you also. The next meeting, why not go and see what it's like? It's at the Community Centre in Letterkenny at 7:15 tomorrow night. Everybody's welcome, especially guests and visitors from other clubs. Okay, the winner of today's quiz for Breedens, of course, the answer is Table. Mary McGonigal from Caromina, you have won €200 voucher. We'll be in touch with you to sort that out. We've another 200 tomorrow, but that's where we